City News.
CIWW 1310 AM in Ottawa.
And CJET 1011 FM in Smiths Falls and the Valley. Number 1 for local news, traffic, and weather for Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News 1011 everywhere.
It's Friday, October 28th. Good morning. I'm Pirushka Gopal-Kista. Right now in Ottawa, partly cloudy skies and 1 degree, and in Smiths Falls, it's 0. Here's what's making news in Ottawa and the Valley. A major witness is taking the stand today at the public inquiry into the Emergencies Act. Now, we're going to be hearing testimony from the former Ottawa Police Chief, Peter Slowly, who stepped down from his post in the middle of the convoy protest amid a flurry of criticism for his force's response. City News Parliament Hill reporter Cormac McSweeney tells us what we can expect from the former police chief.
Witness to date as former Chief Peter Slowly led the Ottawa Police in preparations for the convoy and the response to the occupation. In a 61-page witness summary, he already lays out his arguments, saying they truly believed it would be a weekend event. He didn't believe they had the legal authority to stop trucks from entering the capital, and he doesn't think his officers could have done anything materially different to deal with the convoy. This despite multiple intelligence reports warning of a long-term protest that posed a potential threat to national security, and some in his own force saying they did have the authority to block roads. Slowly is also expected to address the perceived lack of action from his officers on the ground, infighting in the force, and allegations he held up action plans to deal with the protesters. He resigned the day after the Emergencies Act was invoked. Cormac McSweeney, Parliament Hill.
City News time 10:03. Time for City News weather. Here's City News meteorologist Jill Taylor.
Plenty of sunshine today, tomorrow, and on Sunday. But for Monday, Halloween, a little bit of a change. Looks like we'll get into some showers. So the kids may need their umbrella for trick-or-treating time. 11 degrees, a guaranteed high today. Quite cool tonight, -2. Highs on the weekend near 16, about 15 for Monday. The average high is just 9 degrees. For today, the guaranteed high, 11.
Right now in Ottawa, partly cloudy skies and 1 degree, and in Smiths Falls, it's 0. The provincial government is promising new legislation aiming to rapidly build housing supply across the province. City News reporter Chris Curries is gathering reaction.
The big one is that it will allow triplexes to be built across the city, bypassing old municipal rules.
We're under a severe housing shortage in reality.
The Home Builders Association says it's badly needed, and they will work to increase their capability of building those new homes. Developers are thankful that it will help reduce some of the red tape they've been encountering, while housing advocates agree that it will help with affordability.
And this is the most ambitious plan I've ever seen in Canada.
Chris Curries, City News.
A few people from the Hawkesbury area are facing multiple charges following an alleged robbery on Tuesday. The Ontario Provincial Police were called to a gas station in the Champlain Township, roughly an hour outside of Ottawa, after 3 people were allegedly demanding money and making violent threats. 3 people were charged for theft and possession of drugs, and they all appeared in court earlier this week. And StatsCan's latest data shows that the Canadian economy grew by 0.1% in August.
In a report Friday, the federal agency says growth in services-producing industries was offset by a decline in good-producing industries. Retail, wholesale trade, agriculture, and the public sector all grew in August, while construction, manufacturing and mining, quarrying, and oil and gas extraction all contracted. Statistics Canada says the preliminary estimate suggests real gross domestic product grew by 0.1% in September. The latest data comes as worries of an impending recession grow, with the Bank of Canada forecasting the economy will stall toward the end of the year and into the beginning of 2023. John Kennedy, The Canadian Press.
And I'm Pirushka Gopal-Kista. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
Connecting you and your community. This is the Sam Laprade Show on City News.
1011 FM and 1310 AM.
Well, it's Friday, everyone. We made it. I don't know about you. This seemed like a very long week. Of course, that election happening on Monday night. Very, very busy for our team here at City News and Rogers TV. Very busy week for all of us. I hope you have some plans for this upcoming weekend. Last night, I had the pleasure of being part of the Volunteer Ottawa event, which is called the Voskers. And we met some incredible volunteers last night that have given the biggest gift, of course, of all, which is the gift of time. And we heard so many incredible stories of young people and seniors and people in our community that have just given back, especially during this pandemic. You know, they just did not give up. So thank you so much for the invitation to host that great event last night. We're going to meet lots of great people today as well. Chris Hofley is going to join us. He joins us here every once in a while to talk a little sports. Well, today, our focus is on those Ottawa 67s and that win streak. Chris Hofley is going to join us a little bit later. Jamie Logue is going to join us as well, Executive Director from Ausome Ottawa. We know, of course, Halloween coming up on Monday. So we're going to chat a little bit with Jamie about that. Erin Lee is going to join us, Executive Director for Lanark County Interval House, about shelter movers and a big event that they're doing in terms of expanding into the Lanark County area, which is important that we have that kind of support for women facing domestic violence in the rural area, which has been so badly needed. We're also going to spend some time with the one and only Ryan Lindsay from KISS 105.3. He's just across the hall, but he's going to zip on into the studio and spend some time with us today. We're also continuing a conversation we started earlier this week with Michael Kempa. And Michael is the Associate Professor of Criminology at the University of Ottawa. We're going to be talking more about the Emergencies Act inquiry. And we know former police chief Peter Slowly is on the stand today. He's going to be testifying all day. We're going to be spending some time listening to that testimony as well. First of all, I wanted to spend some time today with Haydn Bechthold. Hi, Haydn.
Hello.
Hi, Haydn. You have quite a story to tell. And first of all, tell me how old you are, Haydn.
I am 24.
24 years old. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a really important story to be told. And first of all, before we even say one word, I just want to say how grateful I am that you're going to share your story today, okay?
Yeah, I'm just happy to be able to share it, I guess.
Thank you so much. So we were contacted by the Ottawa Hospital Foundation, and the Ottawa Hospital Foundation, as you know, does incredible work. And when they have an incredible story to tell, they phone us. So your story, let me take you back. So you were visiting Spain in December of 2020. Take me from that moment on, Haydn.
Yeah, it wasn't actually so much visiting. I was living there. I was kind of pursuing a career in soccer, so I was playing for a team there.
And you arrived back in Canada, and what happened then?
Yeah, so I was experiencing some kind of weird health problems. Something a young person, I was 22 at the time, doesn't expect, and that was blood in my stool.
Okay.
This had been going on for actually a couple of years, and because of COVID, or the worsening situation of COVID in Spain at the time, I came home as my season was put on hold, and that's finally when I was able to go in and get a colonoscopy, which is something no 22-year-old really wants to do, but that actually saved my life because it was at that point I was diagnosed with stage 3C rectal cancer.
Was that shocking to you, Haydn?
Yeah, definitely not something I was expecting to hear. It made a lot of sense. Once I actually looked up what symptoms of rectal cancer or colorectal cancer are, I was like, okay, well, yeah, we're kind of matching up here. But it was definitely a huge shock and something I never expected to have to encounter, especially at such a young age.
Well, that was going to be my next point, actually, Haydn, in terms of, we're told, and I'm 51 now, Haydn, so it's certainly on my radar, but a 22-year-old, it's not on your radar. So tell me about arriving at the Ottawa Hospital. What was that like for you?
My experience with the Ottawa Hospital was actually really great. I had initially had my testing done at the Winchester Hospital. And once I was diagnosed, I was referred over to the Ottawa Hospital, and it was kind of within probably a few days of my diagnosis. I had a whole team kind of contacting me. Everyone was offering their kind of best course of action. So obviously a little overwhelming, but I was really glad that it seemed people were working so hard to try and help me and save my life.
And you probably, and I'm assuming that you heard about some new type of treatments when they were sort of talking about how they wanted you to live a full, healthy life. They had some options for you. Walk us through what they suggested, Haydn.
Actually, initially, I was supposed to do kind of your standard radiation and then chemotherapy, and then based on how those go, I would do a surgery. So I was kind of preparing myself to go through that, and the day I was supposed to start my radiation treatment, I got a call from all three of my doctors that were on my team, and they said, hey, we did kind of almost genetic testing on my tumor, and they found that there was a specific mutation that took very well to immunotherapy. And I wasn't super well versed in cancer treatments, so I was kind of like, what is that? Sounds kind of cool. And that's what I ended up going with, this immunotherapy treatment. So I did that, and then I did 2 surgeries afterwards, but it clearly worked really well because I'm here talking to you today.
And I am so happy about that. You have no idea. And I know so many of the amazing, talented physicians and healthcare workers that you would have come in contact with at the Ottawa Hospital is one of the reasons. And I know you came across the one and only Dr. Rebecca Auer, who we've had the pleasure of spending time with here on City News. Talk to me a little bit about your time with Dr. Auer.
Yes, Dr. Auer, I mean, I credit this woman with my life. I have the utmost respect for her, and I still talk to her, honestly, as frequently as I can. I know she has a very busy schedule, but she was my surgeon, and she was very influential in getting the treatment for me, the immunotherapy treatment for me, just because of how young I was. She was hoping that I would have a very long life after treatment, so she kind of took every step possible to make sure that life is as great as possible. So I'm really thankful she got the immunotherapy treatment, and even with the 2 surgeries I had, she did them in a way that it would kind of limit any side effects from all of this treatment.
And take me to today. How are you today?
Yeah, today I'm in Toronto right now. Because of all the great work my doctors did, I was able to apply for law school while I was doing my treatment. So I'm doing law school in Toronto now, and I'm feeling great.
Okay,
so much better than before.
Well, for sure, and I can even hear it in your voice. I hear relief, and I hear hope, and I hear so much even when you share your story, Haydn. If Dr. Auer, we know how busy she is, but if Dr. Auer is listening right now, and any of the team that looked after you, what would you say to them, Haydn?
Yeah, I mean, it's just one big thank you. I've said it before, and I just keep saying it because Dr. Auer and everyone who I interacted with at the Ottawa Hospital, whether that's nurses, doctors, porters taking me from room to room, all those people helped in saving my life and letting me be where I am today.
Oh, I'm so glad you mentioned the porters as well. I mean, I think that it does take an entire team, and the Ottawa Hospital, we're so lucky, and I think a lot of people drive by the Ottawa Hospital, Haydn, and if they haven't had a reason to be treated like you have or had a loved one there, I don't think people realize what's happening. World-class treatment is happening in a city of 1 million people, and we're so lucky that it's here, and we're so lucky that you're here, Haydn.
I feel that way too.
That's awesome.
Yeah, really glad.
Well, you are awesome, and good luck in all your studies. I know how busy you are. Thanks for spending time with us on City News, and we're sending all that love to the Ottawa Hospital today. I can feel it in your voice, my friend.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Haydn Bechthold joining us today, and that is the perfect way to start off our show today. Lock it in to City News.
Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
October 5th, 2014, my daughter was hit by a train. She was walking along the sides of the tracks, and it shattered her world.
Join me for Season 3 of Paula Roy's Favorite Foods. Whew, that was a lot. I think I need a nap.
I did it. I need it.
Here, I gave it.
And I am alive.
As an organ donor, you can save up to 8 lives and enhance the lives of 75 others. Please go to our website. Pledge a gift of life. You'll be glad you did.
Smudging is a very important part in our life as we're all learning to walk the good way. When we smudge, we use the sacred medicine, the white sage, the sweetgrass, the tobacco, and the cedar. It cleanses negative energy and replaces it by a positive energy. When I smudge, I cleanse my end and my eagle feather and start cleansing my breath to have better words. I will smudge my eyes so I could see the better things offered to me. I will smudge my ears to hear the good thing that people have to say. I will smudge my hair to have good thinking from my head. I will bring the smudge to my feet so I could walk in respect with our Mother, the Earth. Smudging is the way we give our prayers to connect our spirit to the Creator. We express gratitude for the gift of life, the learning, and growth.
Hi, I'm Sahai from The Wiggles, and this is my new book, Something in Common. Join me on an adventure as a camp counsellor helping some amazing children make friends and share what family means to them. I wrote this book with my friends at Children's Aid Foundation of Canada to help children who might feel lonely or like they don't belong. Not everyone has the same type of family, but we all have something in common. Download Something in Common for free.
On the next episode of Simply Cooking by Chef, tacos aren't only for Tuesday. I make a Mexican taco feast for a crowd.
Every year, dozens of Canadians are killed or seriously injured because they take risks around railway tracks. Talk to your loved ones about rail safety. Visit stoptracktragedies.ca.
Laprade Show continues on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Well, I just got some exciting breaking news. If you're thinking forward to RBC Blues Fest, of course, taking place every July, they have just announced the amazing Shania Twain is going to be headlining on July the 6th. And of course, on sale now are those tickets for RBC Blues Fest. So they make a great Christmas gift. So, think ahead. I wanted to spend some time today with Tara Reid, Director of Corporate and Community Events for the CHEO Foundation. Hi, Tara.
Hi, Sam. How are you today?
Good. I can't even believe you can spend time with us today because I know it's a very big day at the CHEO Foundation.
It is. Today is a very big day and a very exciting day. Today it is the Hooray 50K deadline for the CHEO Dream of a Lifetime Lottery.
Okay, so tell us what that means for those that aren't in the know.
What that means is if you buy a ticket before midnight tonight, you're entered in the Hooray 50K draw, which is one of our draws leading up to the final deadline. And the Hooray 50K prize is 5 lucky winners will each win $50,000.
Oh, you know what? I'll be honest with you, Tara. I didn't know it was 5 people. That's amazing. I thought it was 1. There you go. Yep. I'm feeling more hopeful because I have my tickets already. So
oh, good.
So that's fantastic. Tara, let's talk a little bit about these deadlines. One today, which we want everyone to get their ticket today. of course. You have other deadlines. Tell us about those.
Yes, we do. So after today, the next one coming is the early bird deadline, which is Friday, November 18th. And the early bird prize is $250,000. One prize, $250,000. Wow. And then after that is our final deadline for the lottery, and that is on Friday, December the 16th. Mm-hmm. Of course, that is the deadline in order to be part of the draw to win the beautiful Minto Dream Home and many other prizes. But if you buy a ticket today before midnight, you're entered in all of those upcoming draws. So lots of chances to win.
Mm-hmm. Very smart, absolutely. And, you know, Tara, we can talk about obviously the beautiful home and all these fantastic prizes, but it is all about the kids, of course. And we know that the pressures on CHEO right now, I mean, there's never been a more important time for each and every one of us to step up.
You're so right here. It's really important, and all the money that comes, from the lottery actually goes right to the hospital's most urgent needs. So that could be new equipment, replacing old equipment. It could go to research. As you can imagine, being a children's hospital, we treat children, babies, right up to kids who are 18 years old. So just various sizes needed for pieces of equipment. Like, for example, we need 6 sizes of blood pressure cups. That just gives you an example. So the list goes on, and funds from the lottery go to those most urgent needs, and we're very happy for that.
Incredible. And remind us how we can get our tickets.
Very easy. You simply go to dreamofalifetime.ca and you click on buy your tickets. Fantastic. You can buy a bundle package if you like, or just a single ticket. It only takes one ticket to win, and you can go there anytime on your laptop or on your phone.
And Tara, I'll tell you is I think you've very wise in the way that you've done your ticketing, because there really is a price point for everybody. And I know a number of people, I've done this before, I've gone in with somebody and said, okay, let's do this together with my mom or whatever, and we'll get, more tickets, and we'll pool our money, which is always a fun thing to do too.
You can definitely do that. You can put up to 3 names on a ticket, so that is all done while you're buying your ticket. So very easy to do as well, and more chances to win.
I think my mom always wishes that when we go in on tickets together and we win the home, it means we're going to live together, Tara. But I appreciate your time as always. Tara Reid, Director of Corporate and Community Events for the CHEO Foundation. Good luck on this important deadline today.
Thank you very much, and buy your ticket if you haven't already.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We're going to take a little road trip. We're heading to the beautiful community of Perth with Mayor-elect Judy Brown. Hi, Judy.
Hello. How are you?
Congratulations.
Hi, thank you.
And why do you think you won this election, Judy? What put you on top?
For one thing, I think there was, and I found this talking to people, there was a huge sentiment that a change needed to be made. I only beat the incumbent by 64 votes, but there was a third candidate, and she took over 500 votes. So put those together, and a lot of people wanted to change. Mm-hmm. And I think they like my message. Just like my style is collaborative. I listen to people, I get back to people, and I think they like that.
And you've had some history in politics before.
Yes, I do.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I lived in the township immediately adjacent to Perth, and I was on that council, first elected in 1985, and then 1990 I became Deputy Reid, and then amalgamation happened in 98, so I was Reeve of the amalgamated township, and then in Perth, I subsequently moved to Perth and ran for council first in 2006. So I've been on Perth Council for 16 years.
Yes, absolutely. And what are the priorities? I mean, Perth is such a beautiful community, and a lot of people have chosen to either have cottages there or live there. What are you hoping to have happen for Perth in the next 4 years?
Well, for one thing, we have 3 subdivisions that are about to start their next phase. So our population is projected to grow by about 2,000 over the next 10 years or so. So I would like to try and keep the neighborly character of Perth, even though we're going to expand. Another thing is affordable housing. Like every other municipality, we need more affordable housing, and we need more housing in general. And then the third thing would be, and again, a great many municipalities are in this situation that our infrastructure was built a number of years ago, and of course, as things do, they start to wear out. So the province has required us to submit an asset management plan, so we have to figure out how we're going to do the upgrades or the replacement to our infrastructure without causing huge tax increases.
Mm-hmm. Really interesting. I'm hoping that we can get connected again, Judy, and keep up with everything that's happening in Perth. It's one of my favorite places to visit, and I appreciate you spending time with us today on City News.
Okay. I thank you for calling.
My pleasure.
It's a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you.
We'll do it again.
I look forward to it. I can't wait. Perth Mayor-elect Judy Brown spending time with us today. And once again, if you haven't hung out in Perth, it is a beautiful place to visit, even for a day trip. We were just there maybe about a month ago. We were doing a little bit of shopping there, which was a lot of fun. When we come back, Erin Lee is going to join us, Executive Director for Lanark County Interval House. We're also going to spend some time a little bit later in our show with Ryan Lindsay, KISS 105.3. He's a host there. He's going to be telling us about a great initiative. He's just across the hallway, so he's going to, come on in studio. And we want you to stay with us as well on City News and Rogers TV.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Little brown girl, Hey, I'm Picasso in Von Teef. I'm so happy to be involved with Encore Ottawa Season 3. I can't wait for you guys to see what I have in store for you.
Everybody knows not to drink and drive, but some people still think it's okay to take drugs and drive. Police have the authority, the ability, and the tools to determine if drivers are impaired by legal or illegal drugs. And because drug-impaired drivers can pose just as great a risk as drunk drivers, they face the same penalties, like the loss of their driver's license, a criminal record, fines, and more. A message from the RCMP, the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police, and Arrive Alive, Drive Sober.
After a 2-year hiatus, we are back with brand new episodes of Celebrate Ottawa starting this fall. We showcase remarkable people highlighting the city's diversity in arts, culture, sports, and nature. We will show you features that will entertain you and will even teach you new things. Join me, your host, Lila Grind, as we explore and celebrate Ottawa.
Play 4 games of bingo from the comfort of your own home each Monday at 7 p.m. for your chance to win money from our $2,000 regular bingo or $5,000 super bingo night. Kiwanis TV Bingo, Mondays at 7 p.m. on Rogers TV.
Hello, I'm Jim Deeks, host of Canada Files. I hope you'll join me each week for interesting and informative discussions with some of Canada's most impressive people.
Number 1 for local news, traffic, and weather for Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News 101.1 everywhere.
It's Friday, October 28th. Good morning. I'm Pirushka Gopal-Kista. Right now in Ottawa and in Smiths Falls, it's partly cloudy and 3 degrees. Here's what's making news this hour. A major witness is taking the stand right now at the public inquiry into the federal government's use of the Emergencies Act into the so-called Freedom Convoy earlier this year. Former Ottawa Police Chief Peter Slowly stepped down from his post in the middle of the convoy protest amid a flurry of criticism for his force's response. Now, during his testimony moments ago, Slowly talked about the pandemic and how that made it tough to meet and build bonds with his staff, and he felt like an outsider because he was brought in to bring about a cultural change within the force to deal with issues around things like systemic racism. But we'll hear more from Slowly's testimony from our City News Parliament Hill reporter Cormac McSweeney coming up at 11. Federal health officials say they plan to hire a third party to process claims for the new dental care insurance program. The procurement department has invited companies with experience in dental insurance claims to apply for pre-qualification. The dental care program is a condition of the supply and confidence agreement the Liberals signed with the NDP in March to prevent an election before 2025. And just a shade under $1.77 a litre for gas on average in Ottawa this morning. As expected, the price went up another 3 cents overnight after a 7-cent jump yesterday morning. Now, there are lower prices in the city, but the average price today in Ottawa is $1.76.9 a litre. City News Time 10:32. I'm Perushka Gopal-Kister. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
The Sam Laprade Show continues on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Thank you so much for joining us here. We always appreciate you spending time on Rogers TV and City News. Erin Lee's spending time with us now. She's Executive Director for Lanark County Interval House. Hi, Erin.
Good morning, Sam. How are you this morning?
Good. Thanks so much. You're so generous with your time, Erin, sharing such important messages regarding the work of Interval House. And I know you're working with incredible partners. Talk to me a little bit about the expansion of shelter movers into Lanark County.
Sure, I'd be honored to do that. We were approached by shelter movers some time ago just to talk about the reality of isolation and moving needs for victims and survivors of violence in our county. We welcomed the conversation and talked about the kind of layered needs of people who are living rurally in terms of the geography, in terms of the vastness of reach of news and how it travels in a rural community. They were determined to be able to provide additional support to rural victims of violence, and we were happy to work alongside, and they secured funding and are now expanding to offer and provide safe and confidential moves for victims of violence in rural communities.
And I think you mentioned things that are really important. They're safe and confidential. And that is so key, Erin. You know way better than I, but those two pieces is really everything for someone wanting to make that change in their life.
It really is, and it is important to know that the rumors and the stereotypes related to how small communities, how people know bits and pieces of everybody's lives is really, really true, and how it can compromise someone's ability to make an escape plan and to see that to fruition or to move safely to another place to start a life free from violence.
Erin, is this, a bit of a breath of fresh air, for lack of a better word, around the fact that there has been, tragic situation happen about 7 years ago in the Ottawa Valley? Does this just kind of leave you with a sense of relief that you have this extra layer of help?
Absolutely. I think that the Renfrew murders really helped to shine a light on the fact that rural violence and rural murders and femicide in rural community is layered a little bit differently than what we know happens in urban centers. And we've always had really great support from our community around moves and being supportive. But I think having a formal service that's set up specifically trained to provide that confidential and that safe service is really critical when people are looking at how to escape violence and how to start over and live their life free from violence, and with the knowledge that folks are there specifically to help them get from point A to point B and really value and support this change in their life. It's critical to the success for many, many families.
And walk me through an event called Soup Share. What's this all about?
This is the official launch that shelter movers in Lanark County Interval House are doing together to launch the expansion. And it was a very creative idea. I think that Wendy Mitchell and Sam Stiles and their team are very creative in their approach. And so we're going to have about 6 or 8 local restaurants from across the county that are going to be invited to create a soup. There will be a panel of judges, and the soup will be shared on November the 17th with the community, and it will be the official launch of Working Together United for the expansion and the safe moves of families fleeing violence. And the hope is really to engage community, to engage local community members who maybe know somebody who needs some help, and to certainly safeguard in our community and build relationships so people will trust shelter movers. In rural communities, it's really, really important that there's an established relationship and that the partner agency that's local is really working alongside that partner to solidify the kind of legitimacy of having a new service that's expanding to your community, and how do we embrace that?
It's so important. And, that the history with shelter movers is such a strong one, starting in Toronto and really moving across the country. And I know the goal, Wendy Mitchell, of course, another angel like yourself, Erin, working in this field, she was so determined to get this into the rural communities because, and you touched on it, violence against women in rural communities feels very different than it happening in the city.
Yeah, I think that Wendy's determination and her insight and her commitment to recognizing that, it's not a one-size-fits-all solution to have shelter movers chapters in urban centers, that the reality is that in order for shelter movers really to continue to make an impact and support thousands of more moves, that they really need to look at where the need is and think about how do we fill that need, even though there are challenges with geography and with resources and availability of trucks and various things. How do we invest in creating those and nurturing those relationships so that we can make a difference in local communities and with a rural focus? And I think that they did a fabulous job and have done lots of outreach, and we were thrilled to be able to go to their most recent fundraising gala and be there as a strong supporter and partner with shelter movers.
And you use the word partner, and I don't think any one of you could do this alone, Erin. I mean, if there's one thing we learned over the last 6 weeks, we did a special 6-week series on the recommendations that came out of the inquest from the murders that took place in 2015 of 3 beautiful women. That is, a really an opportunity to create these partnerships only makes the community stronger when everybody realizes they actually have a piece in this, because it's really easy, Erin, you and I have spoke about this a lot. It's really easy to say, oh, that's somebody else's problem, right? Violence against women isn't happening in my home, so it isn't happening anywhere. Well, the reality is it could be your neighbor.
100%. I think the Renfrew inquest has really expanded the community's knowledge that it isn't in somebody else's backyard, it's in all backyards, and that we have to pay attention and look at how do we work alongside each other to make that significant change in our community. And I think collaborations and partnerships have always existed, but I think some of the uniqueness around shelter movers and other initiatives are that community needs to be engaged. So you can be a community volunteer for shelter movers. You can add your strength, both physically and emotionally, to helping a family move. You can be engaged in a way and contribute to making change and supporting change in someone's life when you may never actually have a relationship with them or know them in any significant way. By virtue of volunteering, by virtue of being part of our partnerships together, you're making a difference.
And it's so true, because I think in many ways when help is needed like that, and you're needing to get all those items out of your home in a safe way, strangers going in to do that are volunteering their time, just kind of go in, swoop in, have this done, and it can actually be, even though you're not connected to them beforehand, providing a service that potentially friends and family can't do for various reasons.
100%. We don't want to ever encourage people to engage in a situation that will create more risk. that would increase volatility, that would increase negative outcomes with the potential of violence. So having shelter movers that train their volunteers, that work together as a team, that ensure communication with the person they're moving, as well as with the coordination of all the pieces in the moving wheels of getting the stuff packed and organized and stored if necessary, and then to their place of final rest is really, really critical. You can imagine yourself just moving creates a huge emotional impact and stress. And so moving with the layers of violence and risk and family and all of those moving pieces is really mitigated very well when we think about the way that Shelter Movers approaches their moving and the safety being number one in terms of the outcomes.
And I think some of the lessons that Wendy Mitchell from Shelter Movers Ottawa has taught me over the years is, you know, they've moved people out of luxury homes, they've moved people out of apartments, out of townhomes, out of single family homes. You know, it does not matter. This does not have anything to do with economic status or you know, what your address is. This is happening everywhere. And one story that I think about over and over again is Wendy shared with me is that, you know, one mom, you know, she had her whole house full of stuff. All she wanted was her son's hockey equipment, right? And that's a mom just wanting to ensure that things stay normal for her son.
I think that that's a critical point, because I think that when we think about moving, we think about stuff. And I think the emotional connection to stuff sometimes hinders our ability to let things go. And I think in situations where risk and violence are a part of the scenario, a couch can be replaced. The blanket can be replaced. What can't be replaced is people and the important things for kids that make them feel that the transition has them in the center, that the things that are important that make their lives feel comfortable and make them feel solid were considered in that move. We can always get a new couch, but the hockey equipment, the things that are meaningful are the things that are really important. And I think that paying attention to that process is something that Shelter Movers does really, really well, and recognizes that for you, that's just an old box that hasn't been looked at in probably decades. But for that woman, it's really about the life that she had to leave in order to survive her violence, and she needs to take it with her. It's part of her journey. So I think that approach in terms of understanding what's important and what's meaningful is really significant in supporting a successful move.
You know, somebody said to me a long time ago, you can do a lot of things, but you can't give a kid another childhood.
100%. You know, and we had an opportunity to spend time with over 100 youth this week at our youth conferences, and it was beautiful to hear the voices of youth talking about violence in relationships, talking about what makes a relationship healthy and not healthy, and not minimizing the realities of incidents that indicate to you that there's something not right in the relationship. Because we hear over and over again women minimize their experiences by saying, well, it wasn't that bad. You know, it was one little push. It wasn't that bad. And what we want to do is we want to reframe that, and we want to validate that people think that they should just believe it's not that bad. And how do we reframe that so that people feel like, you know what, it's bad enough and it's not okay, and I'm going to see it, I'm going to name it, and I'm going to change that. And I think that we need to think about young people and their experience and what they can build and how to empower them to be able to speak out and make the best choices for themselves in terms of their health and well-being.
Beautifully said, as always. Erin Lee spending time with us today, Executive Director for Lanark County Interval House, talking about the Shelter Movers is coming to the rural communities, and we're so happy about that. Hoping everybody comes out to Soup Share. Thanks, Erin.
Thank you, as always.
Thank you. Jamie Logue's going to join us, Executive Director for Ausome Ottawa. The little ghouls and goblins are right around the corner. That's happening, of course, on Monday. Big day for Halloween. We're also going to be talking about the 67s and the win streak. Chris Hofley is going to join us. He's Communications and Content Specialist at OSEG. We're going to talk about the great game that's going to be happening tonight. Stay with us here on City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Hi, my name is Kempa and I'm part of Encore Ottawa. My set will be coming out this week, so I hope you can watch it and enjoy it. Thank you.
October 5th, 2014, my daughter was hit by a train. She was walking along the sides of the tracks, and it shattered her world.
I'm Derek Fage, and I encourage you to join me each and every weekday at 2 p.m. for an edition of Daytime Ottawa. We will share with you some fabulous stories, inspirational stories, and of course, recipes from local chefs. We'll tell you about some wonderful musical performances, introduce you to local businesses and charities, and so much more. Join us here on Daytime Ottawa at 2 p.m. weekdays with repeats at 6 and 11 p.m.
Hi, I'm Meg from AIM Fitness, and I'm here with my buddy Fit Finley. Join us every week for Fit Over 50. We'll take you through some low-impact and high-intensity workouts designed to improve your strength and your balance. All you'll need is a resistance band, some light hand weights, and also your water bottle and a sturdy chair. Tune in right here on Rogers TV and let us be part of your weekly routine.
Donations to the War Amps have a lasting impact on amputees. Today, your support gives them the artificial limbs and resources they need for everyday activities and learning to live with amputation. Having access to our essential programs helps amputees prepare for tomorrow on their road to independence. The War Amps is committed to improving the quality of life for Canadian amputees, but this wouldn't be possible without you. To learn how your donation helps, visit waramps.ca.
Join me for Season 3 of Paula Roy's Favorite Foods. Whew, that was a lot. I think I need a nap.
On the next episode of Simply Cooking by Chef, tacos aren't only for Tuesday. I make a Mexican taco feast for a crowd.
The Sam Laprade Show continues on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Well, of course, right around the corner is Halloween. You might be celebrating this weekend as well. We wanted to get caught up with Jamie Logue, Executive Director for Ausome Ottawa. Hi, Jamie.
Hi, Sam. How are you?
Good. I'm so excited to have you to the show. I understand you're doing something very special for Halloween.
Yes. So Ausome Ottawa is a local charity, children's charity, and we are throwing one heck of a Halloween party for our community on Sunday at the Terry Fox facility on Riverside Drive.
What a great location. That's fantastic.
It's perfect because it gives the party a setting that's outdoors, which is great right now. But it also fits in perfectly with Ausome's mission to provide barrier-free sports and rec programs for children with autism throughout the community.
Okay, so how can we get involved? If there's parents listening right now and they're thinking, hey, I want to do that, what's the next step?
Well, you know, the response has been so overwhelming from our community because we ran this event in 2019 and it was a great success. But then when we started to plan 2020s, of course, we were into the pandemic. So it's been canceled for the last 2 years. So this year has been the first time, and the response has just been overwhelming. We've got over 350 children, parents coming, caregivers, and in fact, we're at the point now where we actually had to close registration because the demand was so high.
Okay.
But there are still ways that people can support not only people in the autism community, but really this event is about engaging the broader Ottawa public to get involved in supporting inclusive sports. So what I would say is go to trotortreat.com, and right there there'll be a donate button. If you click that, you can make a donation, and all the proceeds go to funding more Ausome Ottawa programs.
Oh, brilliant. So what, the parents that are already registered, the kids are already registered, what will that day look like for them on Sunday?
Well, that's a great question, because a tremendous amount of thought goes into planning an event like this for our community, so that we ensure that we're providing, the safe, welcoming, and supported environment that we know our families need and rely on. So it will look like people will be arriving at the Terry Fox facility, and we're going to have a large group gathering at the beginning to sort of kick off the festivities. It'll be sort of a warm-up also to the key sport activity of the event, which is a group trot around the track. Everybody dressed up in their costumes,
that's awesome.
Everybody walking, running, rolling, dancing, trotting, in whatever way they like around the track. And it's just such an incredible visual to see. And now after everybody goes around the track, and by the way, they're raising funds from friends and families and coworkers through the Trot or Treat by doing laps around the track. So everybody does at least one lap, and then we have stations set up along the track where families can engage in activities, arts and crafts, sporting activities. There'll be games. There'll be a family photo podium where they can get their own portraits taken, and we got props and a bubble zone. It's going to be a blast.
Oh my heavens, you put so much effort into this, Jamie.
Well, it's really important to us to serve our community, because it's a struggle for the autism community sometimes to participate in public events, and this is a place where everybody can just come and be their authentic selves, and everybody's welcomed, and it's going to be a really great time.
Well, that sounds like the perfect Sunday to me. Jamie, thank you so much for spending time with us. Good luck. I'm sending you all positive vibes for a fantastic day on Sunday. Thank you.
Well, and thank you for allowing us to share the news about our event, Sam. Thanks so much.
Of course, stay in touch. Jamie Logue joining us, Executive Director for Ausome Ottawa. Fantastic Trot or Treat happening on Sunday. Speaking about this city and what's happening in it, the Ottawa 67s are on a hot streak, and we wanted to speak with Chris Hofley today. Hi, Chris.
Hey, Sam, how are you?
Okay, this is fun, Chris. Communications and content specialist at OSEG. This season has kicked off, and in a big way for the Ottawa 67s. Tell us how you're feeling today, Chris.
Well, it's a big way and a record-setting way. It's been an unbelievable start for the boys, 9-0. Perfect start to the season, heading into a tough game tonight against Peterborough. So really exciting. It's this team has really clicked early on, and junior hockey is one of those games where you don't know exactly what you're going to get until you see it. And the boys have just been firing on all cylinders. We've got the opportunity to go 10-0 tonight against Peterborough at TD Place.
Wow. I can hear TD Place already right in my head of how exciting it will be for everyone there tonight. Are there still tickets available, Chris?
There are still great tickets available. We want to obviously pack the house, but there's still good seats. It's going to be a really exciting weekend at TD Place right now, Sam. We've got this game tonight. We've got Red Black season finale tomorrow. We've got another 67th game on Sunday, and Sunday night, Atletico Ottawa is going for the soccer championship here at TD Place. So it's going to be a jam-packed weekend at the site, and we're really, really fired up for it.
When do you nap, Chris?
I try to sneak in a few hours during the off seasons and just hope for the best. But when you've got teams, you work in sports for a living, right? It's easy to get up for, especially a team like the 67s right now, who haven't ever started this way since 1967 when they joined the league. Never had a 9-0 start, and the league record is 11 games without a loss to start the season. So that's what we've got in our sights right now.
Fantastic. Talk to me a little bit about your coach.
Dave Cameron is one of a kind. He's a guy that loves coaching junior hockey. He's obviously been in the NHL and coached in Europe. He coached with the Ottawa Senators a few years back. But it seems like junior hockey is really where he shines. He's got this, he's from Prince Edward Island, so he's got this kind of like cool, like he's an intense guy, but he's still like the Islander Maritimer guy. So he's just got this way about him that makes guys just want to go through a wall for him, right? And that's what we're seeing. What we're seeing right now, the guys are firing, from the top line to the fourth line. The goalies are standing on their heads, doing what they need to do, and Dave's just got everyone really, really working on the same page.
I have heard so many amazing things about Dave Cameron over the years, especially a lot of media people, right? I mean, we get to work with coaches and all of that, and I have never heard a bad word about Dave Cameron, ever.
No, he's one of those guys that, he'll get you. He's got an incredibly dry sense of humor, so sometimes he'll give you a little chirp that you don't see coming, but it's really just, again, just love of the game. He loves where he is. He loves talking about hockey, and, some of the media personalities in the city especially have known Dave for years, so he's got that familiarity with him, which me as the media guy helps a whole bunch. But it's never a dull moment with Dave, and it speaks to the review he got when we hired him, following in the footsteps of Andre Tourigny, who was a great coach for us here, moved on to the NHL, and Andre was the guy who said, Dave is the best, one of the best guys I've met in this business, and best coach in this business, and you're lucky to have him, and we certainly are.
For sure. So we have to send lots of positive vibes. I'm throwing them all over TD Place right now because, of course, like you mentioned, the Ottawa 67s are Red Blacks, which have had a bit of a tough season, but they're not giving up, Chris. And then, of course, Athletico as well, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it's been a tough year for the Red Blacks, but we want to finish off strong. It hasn't been easy at home, so that's the goal going into the game tomorrow is to get that W for the fans. And then again, Atletico, best wishes to them. They've had an outstanding season, and they're expecting somewhere in the neighborhood of, I think, 8,000 people for this game. And the weather's still cooperating, right? We're getting to late October here, and it's still beautiful and sunny and mostly warm. So gonna be a rocking weekend in the Glebe in Atlanta. We're excited.
That's fantastic. I was chatting with Jeff Hunt, of course, from Athletico a little bit earlier in the week, and I was teasing him that he was praying to the weather gods for Sunday, but we're really wishing everybody a great weekend here. Ottawa sports, there's nothing like it, Chris. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. Chris Hofley joining us, communications and content specialist with OSEG. Could be number 10 tonight. We're going to be watching very, very closely. Lock it in to Rogers TV and City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Every year, dozens of Canadians are killed or seriously injured because they take risks around railway tracks. Talk to your loved ones about rail safety. Visit stoptracktragedies.ca.
Little brown girl, little brown girl.
Hey, I'm Picasso Invontief. I'm so happy to be involved with Encore Ottawa Season 3. I can't wait for you guys to see what I have in store for you.
I'm Julian Armour from Music and Beyond. Join us for a new show this spring on Rogers called Music and Beyond Presents.
Play 4 games of bingo from the comfort of your own home each Monday at 7 p.m. for your chance to win money from our $2,000 regular bingo or $5,000 super bingo night. Kiwanis TV Bingo, Mondays at 7 p.m. on Rogers TV.
City News.
CIW WW1310 AM in Ottawa.
And CJET 101.1 FM in Smiths Falls and the Valley. Number 1 for local news, traffic, and weather for Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News 101.1 everywhere.
It's Friday, October 28th. Good morning. I'm Perushka Gopal-Kista. Right now in Ottawa and in Smiths Falls, a mix of sun and cloud with 3 degrees. Here's what's making news in Ottawa and the Valley. The former Ottawa police chief who resigned amid the Freedom Convoy occupation is now taking the stand and is facing questions about his force's much criticized response to the convoy protests back in February. Here's City News Parliament Hill reporter Cormac McSweeney with the details.
So far, former Ottawa Police Chief Peter Slowly is being questioned about the intelligence in the lead up to the convoy's arrival, with the Commission's lawyer pointing out elements about the potential for a prolonged event and that the number of protesters could be similar to Canada Day and maybe that police could be overwhelmed. Slowly says all elements of intelligence need to be taken into account.
But in the totality, sir, I do not recall, and to this day, even with the benefit of hindsight, I do not have any clear impression or saw any clear conclusions that we were going to have anything more than what I was being briefed on by my team. This was going to be a Thursday, Friday, mainly Saturday, Sunday event with the potential for a smaller group to remain behind, but in numbers that we had managed previously.
He says some of the initial warnings reminded him of the warnings from other protests like Idle No More and the Occupy movement. We know from his witness summary that Slowly will also say today he does not believe his officers could have done anything materially different during their response to the convoy. Cormac McSweeney, Parliament Hill.
City News time, 11:02. Now taking a look at your weather for the next few days. Here's City News meteorologist Jill Taylor.
Lots of sunshine today, tomorrow, and for Sunday, and then some wet weather moves in for Monday. Halloween, not the best timing for the trick-or-treaters. We are on the mild side, though. 11 for the guaranteed high today, 16 for the highs on the weekend. Just expect some rather chilly mornings with the temperatures near the freezing mark. For today, the guaranteed high, 11.
Right now, in both Ottawa and in Smiths Falls, a mix of sun and cloud with 3 degrees. There's a significant apprehension at the local level on the Ford government's new housing legislation. The City of Ottawa's Director of Economic Development and Long-Range Planning told the Planning Committee yesterday that they have some very significant concerns with the new bill, but are working feverishly to respond to the province.
The challenge that we have here is that Bill 23 is an absolutely enormous piece of legislation that touches nearly every aspect of functioning of our organization. And we have very little time with which to respond.
Now, David Wise said that staff will likely be working all weekend to analyze the potential impacts of the bill and then craft a response to the province. Now, we heard yesterday, too, that more Canadians are turning to food banks. City News reporter Chris Curries joins us with how the food bank is dealing with that impact.
It's record numbers in Ottawa.
It's historic and unprecedented in our 38-year history. So before the pandemic, we saw about 39,000 people every single month, and now we're seeing over 52,000 people every single month are needing to access a food bank in Ottawa.
CEO of the Ottawa Food Bank, Rachel Wilson, tells Wake Up with Rob Snow that they're seeing an increase in seniors, and 30% of those are families with kids, and they cite their income as their reasons for visiting. As for the rise in users, Wilson adds that their grocery bill has also skyrocketed.
Before the pandemic, we were spending about $2 million every year on food. This year, we'll spend $6 million on the food.
She adds that it also has to do with rising food prices. Chris Curries, City News.
And I'm Perushka Gopal-Kista. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
The Sam Laprade Show continues on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
And we're back on City News. Thanks so much for tuning in. Certainly have lots of great guests to chat with today. A little bit later, of course, heading into Halloween weekend. Halloween, of course, being on Monday. Keith Whittier is going to join us, and I think his goal today is to scare me. So you'll want to stay for that for sure. We wanted to catch up today with Mandy, Paquette, psychotherapist and board member at the Center for Treatment of Sexual Abuse and Childhood trauma. Hi, Mandy.
Hi, Sam. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Mandy, tell me a little bit about this organization.
Yeah, so the Center for Treatment is a charitable organization that provides mental health services in the Ottawa-Gatineau region, and we provide specialized services for those who have lived through traumatic experiences, childhood trauma, first responders, military, veterans.
Wow. And the demand, Mandy, what are you seeing in terms of people that are looking for help from all of you at the center?
Yeah, I mean, the demand has just been increasing year over year. Of course, during the pandemic, I think like many mental health organizations, the flow of clients and the influx of needs increased quite exponentially, I would say, and it just continues since the pandemic.
Mm-hmm. And you're holding a very special event. Tell us all about the Sounds of Hope benefit concert.
Yeah, so this is the second year that we hold the Sounds of Hope benefit concert. It will be on November 19th at the Shankman Arts Center. And this event is basically to raise funds for the center so that we can continue to provide these accessible services to our community on the mental health front. So we have 3 local artists that are going to be joining us, and then one Juno, 5-time Juno nominee artist that will be joining us from Toronto.
And how can people get tickets, Mandy?
Yeah, so people can go on our website at centerfortreatment.com, or people can also visit the Shankman Arts Center website under events, and they will see the Sound of Hope benefit concert promoted there too.
How important is this event so that you can continue to offer services to people in our community?
Yeah, so I would say this is our biggest event of the year that we hold once a year. And so this is where most of our funds come for the year to be able to provide some of the services that we provide. Some of the funds that come from this event help us be able to provide free group services to the community, as well as some subsidized therapy services to the community as well. Mm-hmm. So this is kind of our big event of the year that helps us support everything that we do.
And Mandy, help me understand a little bit. I mean, if somebody's listening right now and they're thinking, you know, I know something happened in my childhood. I want to talk to somebody, but they may be nervous to reach out. Walk us through, inspire us to you know, have somebody today that, you know, may be looking for help, but they don't know where to turn.
Yeah, and I mean, navigating mental health services in our community is difficult. Sometimes we don't know where to go. We don't know where to turn, but I would say that it's one call or one email away. So essentially, you would either call the center or email the center and say, you know, I'm looking for services. You don't even need to go into any of the background or anything that's going on for you. Our intake coordinators will then communicate with you. We'll set up a time, and they're lovely. They will go through the whole intake process. They'll walk you through what you need. And if our services aren't appropriate, they'll refer you to where you need to go. Mm-hmm. So that's great as well. It's kind of a one-stop shop.
Mm-hmm. Because I think there's, you know, a lot of situations where people are like, well, this happened to me in my childhood, but you know, there's people that have got way worse things that have happened to them. And it's really important to know that everybody's, you know, situation is different, and it's okay even to reach out for something that, you know, has affected you. It may impact your life today, right?
Yeah, of course. And I mean, trauma is a unique and subjective experience, so it's hard to compare. I mean, we all have similar emotions when we go through traumatic experiences, no matter what it is. So I would say that everybody's trauma is valid, and there is no harm in reaching out to get help for that. Because the more we downplay our own trauma, the less that we take care of ourselves.
Mm-hmm. And how many people would go through the center annually? I mean, how many people are you helping in our community?
Yeah, anywhere between 800 to about 1,200 people a year, I would say, call in at this point that we can actually service it and get through services. Yeah.
Why did you get into this work, Mandy?
Yeah, I mean, this work is really close to my heart as well. I've had experiences in the past, and being a psychotherapist is always something that I've wanted to do. So the center inspired me essentially when I was a student, and I ended up being an associate there and then a board member, and helping the community is kind of a part of what I love to do. And holding some of these events and seeing the impacts and the differences is a part of that for me.
And it's a journey, right? I mean, I think when people sort of decide to take steps to look back maybe in the past to heal some of that, it's a journey, right? This is something that's not going to be probably a one session experience for them.
No, exactly. It takes time, it takes a lot of effort, and a lot of practice goes into it. So I would say most of the clients that come to see us usually have long-term therapy. It's not kind of a quick in and out, but we always tell people that if you stick with it, it's something that will be so fruitful for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years of your life.
Really appreciate you joining me today, Mandy, and I wish you all the best. Sounds of Hope benefit concert. And I noticed there's an auction as well. Where can we get lots of information?
Yeah, so if you go to the centerfortreatment.com website, you'll be able to find all of the information on the Sounds of Hope benefit concert. And then we have a virtual live auction that will be accompanying the benefit concert. So even if you're not coming to the concert, you can still hop online and bid on some really good prizes.
And I saw some of the prizes because I know it launches on the 5th, and but you're already teasing us with some of the items there, which is great. Mandy, I wish you all the best with the auction and, of course, with the concert. Sending positive vibes your way. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Mandy Paquette joining us, psychotherapist and board member at Center for Treatment of Sexual Abuse and Childhood Trauma. So definitely take a peek there, and not only if you want to attend that event, but if you're looking for some help, definitely an organization in our city that deserves a lot of love. When we come back, Ryan Lindsay is going to be here. Of course, he is right across the hall at KISS 105.3, part of our Rogers radio group. So Ryan's going to come in studio with me and talk about an initiative that he has going on. Michael Kempa is also going to join us. We started our conversation with Michael a little bit earlier in the week regarding the Emergencies Act inquiry. And we are watching this very closely today. They're on a bit of a break right now. But former Ottawa Police Chief Peter Slowly is testifying today. And this is the testimony so many people are waiting to hear. So we're going to be following this story. You'll want to stay with us here. We'll have an update for you at the 11:30 news. Very important conversation there. So Michael Kempa, of course, with the University of Ottawa, is going to spend some time with us. And as promised, Keith Whittier is going to join us. He's a movie reviewer. We're going to be talking about some of those Halloween movies. You'll definitely want to be here for that. And Cam Holmstrom and Laura Peck are going to join me for lunch. It's Lunch with Sam, where we bring community and business leaders into the conversation about those top news stories of the day. So Cam and Laura are going to be having lunch with us today, and we're going to be talking about all things business on the Business Lunch. Mike Eppel, senior business editor for CityNews, is going to be spending time with us today talking about, well, Elon Musk. Well, it went through, everybody. He has bought Twitter, and he walked into the headquarters carrying a sink. Well, we're going to ask Mike all about it when we come back a little bit later on the Business Lunch. We want you to stay with us here on City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Hello, I'm Jim Deeks, host of Canada Files. I hope you'll join me each week for interesting and informative discussions with some of Canada's most impressive people.
Hi, my name is Arkantel and I'm part of Encore Ottawa. My set will be coming out this week, so I hope you can watch it and enjoy it. Thank you.
It was John's graduation. We were so proud. We all got together for a picnic. That's when we heard coming from the radio. So we stopped and we listened. It helped us get to safety. That's why when I think of John, because now he has a real future to look forward to.
wanted was to see a movie. One down, please.
I can't sell downstairs tickets to you people.
How dare they? I could afford to buy the more expensive ticket. I run my own business. But they refused to take my money. They left me there all night. On what charge? They said I didn't pay the theater tax. But it was really about color.
Sister Desmond, appeal this conviction and your community will stand behind you.
Do you have any idea what this will do to us?
So what are you going to do? Make it right.
Viola Desmond's case inspired Nova Scotia's civil rights movement. She was pardoned 63 years later based on the injustice of her conviction.
I am Audrey. And I'm Leah. Leah inspired me to play hockey. The War Amps has helped me by giving me my devices I need to play hockey.
Audrey has an amputation similar to mine.
What does yours do? The stick clicks in it.
My device from the War Amps allows me to shoot a lot better. It rotates like a wrist, which helps a lot with shooting and stick handling.
When I score a goal, I feel really happy.
October 5th, 2014, my daughter was hit by a train. She was walking along the sides of the tracks, and it shattered her world.
Join me for Season 3 of Paula Roy's Favorite Foods. Whew, that was a lot. I think I need a nap.
The Sam Laprade Show continues on City News.
1011 FM and 1310 AM.
Well, it is so rare that I have guests in the studio, so I'm kind of excited today because Ryan Lindsay, who I normally just see in the hallways, is here in studio with me. Of course, a fantastic host on KISS 105.3 right across the hall.
Yeah, we're usually, 18 feet away from each other doing the show at the exact same time. You just kind of grabbed me. I ran from my studio over and was like, should I bring my headphones?
It was
what
great.
do I do?
It was great.
Yeah.
It's awesome to have you here. And Ryan, you just continue to do awesome things, of course, on KISS and for our community. And it hasn't stopped. You're back at it again.
I mean, I try to do it. Like, that's my favorite part about what we do for a living. You 100%. Get a chance to make a big difference in anything. If somebody decides they're going to throw a bake sale, you can make the difference from them selling $5 worth of Rice Krispie treats to $50 worth.
Right.
Very quickly. So I've always enjoyed that kind of aspect of our platform, but it also leads me to be able to do dumb things like what I'm doing next weekend.
Well, it's not dumb. I think it's fantastic. And I'm going to kind of phrase it. It's Extra Life. So for people that don't know what that means, explain it to us.
So Extra Life is an organization that was created back in 2008. They actually support the Children's Miracle Network hospitals, so over 170 hospitals, children's hospitals specifically, over the course of the U.S. and Canada. Everybody that participates in these Extra Life fundraisers ends up actually keeping all of the money local, though. So for all of the people, and there's actually multiple groups that are participating in Extra Life, which comes up on November 5th. They all support CHIO locally because you stay local. So the money raised here ends up going back into CHIO, which is going to be incredible. Big organization. I spent so much time there as a kid. And now my kids actually go there as an adult. I've had my son's in there for eye surgery. I had one to get a piece of Lego removed from his nose. You know, all the standard fun stuff.
I wasn't expecting that.
That's what CHIO's there for. Right. If you could see the files they have on me, they could take up this room, basically, for dumb things I did as a kid. But Extra Life, the event itself is a 24-hour or longer, depending on what you set, marathon gaming fundraiser. Now, it's not specifically going to be video games. It could actually be board games. It could be people that are playing Dungeons and Dragons. It could be people that have decided they're going to be playing mobile games on their phone for an entire time. But while they're doing that, more often than not, they're streaming it live and they're trying to raise money for, in our case, CHIO.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so this time around, last year I did this same thing, but I did a 48-hour marathon, which
remember.
was a little excessive, not gonna lie, it's a little bit too much. I understand why most people go with 24. Last year I did an stand-up arcade edition for 48 hours, which was crazy. I lasted for... I want to say 42 hours before my wife and son tapped me out and said, go sleep for an hour upstairs, and then finished strong. And we raised a pretty decent chunk of change last year. Well, this year, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. So starting at 6 p.m. on Friday next week, through until 12:01 a.m. Sunday morning. So that's a 30-hour marathon plus a minute, but nobody's counting that at all. I'm going to be playing this video game called Rumbleverse. It's just a whole bunch of people dropped into a massive arena, beating each other up with cartoon wrestlers, but duo style. So it's me and tag team partners. So you're more than welcome, Sam, to come sit down and play.
Wow, look at that. I would have so much fun. That would be so much fun.
That's the thing. And if you want to come sit on the couch and play with me, that's fine. If you want to join me virtually, that's also an option from anywhere, which is the beautiful thing about technology now, right?
It is.
And the whole thing's going to be live streamed on, I think I'm going with YouTube. I'm still kind of going back and forth between YouTube and Twitch as what my main platform is going to be. But so far, over $1,000 worth of prizing has been kicked in for raffles. So anybody that makes a donation has a chance to win incredible stuff from a ton of amazing local organizations.
Well, I'll tell you, I won last year. I made a donation, and I won pizza last year.
And this year, Papa John's Orleans also kicked in $250 worth of pizzas. So there's 10 large pizza and pop combos, just as some of the prizes that are in there so far. So
amazing.
That's the fun part about it, right?
Amazing.
It's always better when I get to turn around and say, you know what, thank you for kicking a couple bucks into Chio, and by the way, boom, here's a pizza. So,
absolutely.
That's the idea.
And you know, Chio is just top of mind for me today because the deadline for Dream of a Lifetime tickets are today as well. There's one deadline and there's another one in November.
It's the 50K, early 50K, right?
Yes, exactly.
Tonight?
5 people going to win $50,000. So Chio just is one of those organizations in our community, which just means so much. Walk me through. I know you said you've had some times there as a child, and obviously your kids have been there. But you know, I think people that have had that personal connection, it even means more.
It's such a deep personal one. I try not to cry because we're on TV, and I don't want people to see that side of me. But when I was a kid, aside from a terrible injury, because we're on TV, we can do this. By the way, you ready to see this?
Okay. Oh God.
That's for people that are listening right now. There's a very large gash that goes across my tongue. I actually bit through it as a child.
And I just saw it.
Sorry.
I'll be okay.
So I bit through my tongue, 3/4 severed completely, dangling off when I was a kid after falling off my bike. So I ended up in Chio, filling a bucket with my blood and not letting them sew my tongue back on. That's just one of about probably 400 trips to Chio as a kid. When I had the opportunity to come back home, moving back from Calgary, it's actually one of the biggest deciding factors for me, knowing full well that as a parent now, I had a very young son when I was coming back in 2014, knowing that we were going to be back in a city with this organization and with this specific hospital is so big to me because they were so instrumental to so many things. I was diagnosed with a bleeding disorder when I was a child, which has actually been overturned, but as a kid, I spent a lot of time in the same ward as several kids with leukemia for extended periods of time. So I would make a lot of friends and sometimes not have those friends shortly thereafter. And it's a lot to learn when you're a kid. So anytime I've ever had the ability to do something to support Chio, and I've been doing these gaming marathons for, oh man, the first one was over a decade ago, actually. I've been doing this for quite some time. So the ability to support them through something nerdy I love to do on my own time is just the perfect marriage for me. I love the fact that I used to do this actually with a group called Child's Play that specifically bought video games and consoles for children's hospitals.
Oh, wow.
Because when I was a kid at one of my stays, I remember them wheeling in the Super Nintendo one day, and it was the greatest feeling in the world.
Right.
Because you had something to take your mind off the fact that you're stuck in a hospital, right? So doing things like this, just it's fun. It's grueling, but at the end of it, you feel like you accomplished something. And it's funny enough, I was going to let you wear this. They sent me a medal last year.
Oh, look at that.
I know, because we managed to raise, if you surpass the $1,000 US mark, they end up sending you one of these medals. So they sent me that along with this.
The camera.
Here we
That's
go.
amazing.
You can wear it if you want, Sam. You'd be the real champ. Look at you.
Look at that.
Official champion wearing the Extra Life medal that's been hanging on my arcade ever since.
Amazing. That's amazing. What do you tell your boys, Ryan, about Chio?
That it's been so helpful to them. My eldest son had a very severe case of strabismus in one of his eyes, so he had to go in and have his eye basically detached and reattached so that it points in the right direction. I'm so sorry, Sam's so squeamish. I didn't know. But it was huge because of them, he can see properly.
Right.
He doesn't have to wear an eye patch every day and try and train his eyes constantly and wear glasses that are so thick it's almost impossible for him to do things because he got to go in there. When my son broke his arm and a cottage stay, that's the spot that we ended up at for all of this. So I tell them constantly, I'm so happy to have them here. And anytime we've had to go, they feel calm because they know that, you know what, they helped my dad when he was younger, and they've helped in the case of taking Reese, my youngest, he knows, they help Liam be able to see. So it's incredible. I tell them, and they're both super excited about this. They're actually going to be playing with me for some of it. They're going to get a couple hours of sitting down and being a tag team partner with their dad. So we're very, very excited.
I love that. And I think we forget sometimes that CHEO was started by parents in this community, right? And I always say, if you want something done, give it to a mom, give it to a dad, right? And they're going to get it done. And it's become so much over the years, this big, obviously, building and everything that happens within it. But the talented physicians and healthcare workers that call that place home every single day, we're so grateful for them. And I'm grateful for you. You've been you've been really incredible over the years. And I know I see you in the hall. I tease you in the hall. But
we tease each other in the halls. That's what we're supposed to do. We're coworkers, people.
But on the air, I do want to say how much we appreciate everything you do. I know you put your heart and soul into everything. So if somebody wants to get involved, how are they doing that?
So here's the best bet right now. I'm still in the process of fixing a couple things on the website because everything has to be done through a secured portal with Extra Life's own donation sites. So I have mine. It's the exact same link I had last year, but I'll be pushing everything out on my socials. So because let's be real, that's how everybody's connected now for the most part. So Twitter and Instagram both, it's the Ryan Lindsay, TheRyanLindsay. I'm the only the Ryan Lindsay on there. You can also find me on Facebook with that same tag. If you go facebook.com, I think it's the Ryan Lindsay or Radio Ryan Lindsay will bring you to both of them. And I'll be pushing links out over the course of the weekend. YouTube, you can search for, wait for it, Ryan Lindsay, Ryan Lindsay.
Wow.
No way. So I'll be on there as well. And the plan is to have a live stream on YouTube for the entire duration. You may not necessarily want to drop in and watch the whole thing. That's okay. But the links will go up and all of these wonderful businesses. Can I throw a couple of them out here if possible? All of these wonderful businesses that have kicked in prizes. I have to thank them so much because we're already at over $1,000 worth of prizing for this year. So there's pizza from Papa John's. Island Flava kicked in a gift certificate. I Delivers kicked in a gift certificate, which so many people just getting the stuff taken straight to their home. That's big. Vodcow, I believe, is kicking in a gift basket. The Mad Chef's making the best macaron you have ever had in your life. Whole Therapy has kicked in a massage.
Nice.
So now Sam just lit up. She's like, I'd like to win that one this year. That'd be nice. Soak It Up Canada threw in a bath bomb basket. Nina Bella Knits put in a gorgeous, cozy knit hat custom. We've got tickets to Yuck Yucks and so much more.
Fantastic.
Handmade earrings, handmade Christmas cards, and the stuff is still actually coming in. So.
Amazing. Yeah. Ryan Lindsay, always a pleasure to spend time with you. Of course, host on Kiss 105.3. Say hello to your beautiful mother for me.
I will. I promise. She's probably watching and listening to this right now and be like, how come you didn't say my name?
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Lock it in to Rogers TV and City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
On the next episode of Simply Cooking by Chef, tacos aren't only for Tuesday. I make a Mexican taco feast for a crowd.
Every year, dozens of Canadians are killed or seriously injured because they take risks around railway tracks. Talk to your loved ones about rail safety. Visit stoptracktragedies.ca.
I'm Wendell Clark with a word about winning. We all know it takes a team effort in any sport and with any challenge. You can be a part of the winning team that shuts out impaired driving. Whether you're out on the town or just hanging out with friends, drink responsibly. Always have a plan for a safe ride home for yourself, your family, and your friends. You'll be helping to shut out impaired driving.
Visit ArriveAlive.org to find out more. Arrive Alive. Drive sober.
Once upon a time, in a nursery rhyme, there were 3 bears. 1, 2, 3 bears. And they went a-walking in the cool woods a-talk.
Rogers TV invites you to let your imagination roam as we present Ottawa storytellers. Each week, we'll present a collection of original creative stories and inspirations for children of all ages. Join us for Ottawa Storytellers on Rogers TV.
Little brown girl,
hey, I'm Picasso Win Von Teef. I'm so happy to be involved with Encore Ottawa Season 3. I can't wait for you guys to see what I have in store for you.
For local news, traffic, and weather for Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News 1011 everywhere.
It's Friday, October 28th. Good morning. I'm Perushka Gopal-Kista. Right now in Ottawa, partly cloudy skies and 4 degrees, and in Smiths Falls, it's 7. Here's what's making news this hour. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says Canada is imposing sanctions on 35 more Russians and issuing bonds that individuals can buy to support the Ukrainian government. Trudeau says the group being sanctioned include leaders with the Russian state-owned energy company Gazprom and 6 energy sector entities. The Prime Minister is in Winnipeg, where the Congress of Ukrainian Canadians are holding a 3-day meeting. Ottawa fire crews were busy this morning when they put out a small fire at a car wash in the East End. Up to 9 this morning, smoke was seen coming from the Halo car wash on Inns Road, and crews had to open up the sections of the roof to extinguish the hot spots. Now, just after 9:30, crews got the fire under control, and no one was inside at the time. A fire investigator was called to the scene. And tickets for the city's biggest outdoor music festival is now on sale because a major musician is set to headline the festival next year. Country star Shania Twain will headline RBC's Blue Fest next summer on July 6th. The festival says they will announce the rest of the lineup and other dates in the new year. Blues Fest will take place at LeBreton Flats. City News Time, 11:32. I'm Perushka Gopal-Kista. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
The Sam Laprade Show continues on City News
1011 FM and 1310 AM.
Well, we know the Emergencies Act inquiry is going on. Over 65 people will share their story, their perspective of what happened and why, and was the Emergencies Act used. And we know we're still waiting to hear about Premier Doug Ford, of course, and Sylvia Jones, who was Solicitor General at the time, to see if they're going to be testifying. They're trying to use parliamentary privilege to get out of testifying, which I've got to be honest, boils my blood. We wanted to spend some time today with Michael Kempa, Associate Professor of Criminology at the University of Ottawa. Hi, Michael.
Hello again.
Thank you so much for coming back and spending time with us this week. We know that today at the Emergencies Act inquiry is a very big day. Former Ottawa Police Chief Peter Slowly is speaking. What are you expecting to hear from Mr. Slowly today, Michael?
Well, Peter Slowly is already underway, and he is breaking down precisely how the police had what I would call a complete systems failure in addressing the Freedom Convoy. It goes right from the receipt and interpretation of intelligence, up through planning, up through resourcing, a very difficult time surrounding the police with huge amounts of change and conflict within, difficulties to do with staffing at the tail end of the pandemic phase of the COVID-19 issue. It is an extremely complicated story. We're very fortunate to have a commission like this to detangle all of these problems so that we can fix them.
Absolutely. I'm going to play a short clip here from Mr. Slowly.
There wasn't one convoy ever
there were multiple convoys, and there were multiple other individuals and small groups, and I think Superintendent Morris used better language than I will, but affiliated groups that joined or left on a daily basis.
And this was his response to why he wasn't receiving intelligence on what was coming from federal agencies. This just seems like a bit of a boondoggle to me, all of this communication breakdown. Are you seeing it that way, Michael?
I'm seeing it that there was a huge amount of information. They keep describing it the old cliche, multiple fire hoses, like drinking from a fire hose. So much information that when being funneled through the old filters of understanding, the old frameworks for what protest usually looks like in Canadian society, that they were not able to turn that information into workable intelligence to make good planning. I think I don't know if he meant it this way, but it's such a telling phrase there. There was never one convoy, there were multiple convoys. I take that to mean not just multiple different lines of trucks that were coming in separate convoys. There was never one protest. There were multiple layers to this protest, comprised of very different types of people. They were ordinary, honorable Canadians mixed in the mix, the vast majority who had concerns about vaccine mandates or concerns about government overreach generally. There were smaller groups representing far-right political ideologies that are interested in undoing the authority of the centralized state because they prefer something that's a little bit more local and anarchist. There were religious extremists on the Christian far right. There were globalist conspiracists. There was not one protest. And those with the more radical views, frankly, were using the protest to pull those honorable Canadians in the direction of their ideology. It was all overlapped with one another. Misinformation, disinformation, the public watching this thing could not understand at the time what was going on. And in that context, it made people very angry to see their police services unable to resolve the matter in a quick time frame. Very frustrating for Mr. Slowly, to the point that this morning, at one moment, he was actually in tears talking about how this public perception damaged not him, but the morale of his officers who were doing their level best out in the freezing cold, at least most of them.
Mm-hmm. I think your description of all that, Michael, is probably one of the best succinct ways of describing what that time was like, because you would have conversations with people, certainly in my network and because of what I do for a living, and people would say, yeah, but Sam, my father's a trucker, or and they're just trying to do this. But because you would see flags going down, hatred flags going down Elgin Street, it just all got mixed in together. And it was, to your point, sort of drinking from multiple fire hoses. Certainly from a media perspective, I mean, the amount of communications we were getting from people was overwhelming as well, right? I mean, I look back on that time and it seems like a bit of a blur sometimes, Michael, because it was every minute it would seem to be changing.
Well, it is a bit of a blur, and what we know about human biases is when things get confusing, we like a simple answer, and we tend to just cut short the analysis, and we say we're either for it or against it, right? Mm-hmm. And this is, in fact, one of the major concerns that the head of the OPP intelligence, Tom Morris, brought up, where he said, yes, there are negative elements, there is the far right, there are all kinds of religious fundamentalists in the mix, but we can't lump all of these people together with protesters who showed up to make a point, as is their right in Canada. And Morris, who knows a thing or two about this, said if we are too quick to judge everybody and lump them together, we're going to make the problem worse. And that was a major concern of his. This is the value of an inquiry like this. It's helping us detangle it. We're going to have everybody's perspective put up there, and Canadians can then make up their own minds from a position of being informed.
Mm-hmm. And when I think about, that time and when I remember walking into the newsroom and somebody said, oh, we're hearing, from different sources that Peter Slowly is going to be resigning. I mean, it just seemed to be we knew something was going to happen, whether he was going to be let go or it just felt like his time had come to an end. There just seemed to be something that needed to be changed. Were you surprised that he resigned at the time he did?
At the moment he resigned, yes, that he would be the focus, that people would say, somebody's got to go. Who's it going to be? In the end, it's almost always the chief of police, and this is something that I'm going to be now talking about for months to anybody who will listen to me, that this type of systems failure that we see goes all the way up to the framework for setting up policing and intelligence that the province sets. It runs down through the way that we manage policing through police services boards. It includes the role of city councils being involved in policing in what I would call sort of behind the curtain ways rather than publicly accountable ways, such that when the system breaks down, it's so confusing that the only person who really gets the blame is the chief. And we've seen this time and time again. But you remove the chief, doesn't fix the system. We have the same old problems.
It's so interesting because if you remember, and I know you do, remember that meeting that happened in March with council. It was televised. It was probably one of the most watched, well, probably the most watched council meeting ever at the City of Ottawa, where Diane Deans was ousted as the chair of the Ottawa Police Services. I had Diane Deans on the show the very next day. And my question to her at the time, because of course, as you know, she had gone ahead and hired another police chief. We still had, I'm sure we were still playing former chief Peter Slowly at the time. And then of course we had interim chief Steve Bell. So we had all of these different, chiefs at the time. It just seemed to me that, and I asked her this question at the time, is it not the job of the Ottawa Police Service to make sure that they have deputies in place, that there could be somebody coming up through the ranks that would fill these spots? But now we learn about all of the dissension. So it was just such a complicated time. When you look back on that, was that the right decision that Diane Deans not continue in that role?
In fairness to Diane Deans, I will say that she certainly made, along with everybody else, her share of mistakes as chair of the Police Services Board. This is not a personalized issue, though, because these boards are rife with mistakes right across the province of Ontario. We just happened to really, really notice them this time in Ottawa because we were faced with a set of pressures that were an emergency that brought the entire policing system essentially into disintegration over that week. What I mean by that is we ask a lot of police services boards. We basically say, you people who have no background, really, in policing and the politics of policing, we want you to develop a police budget, set the priorities for policing, hire and fire chiefs and deputies, and make sure you hold them to account on all of their operational decisions. And we're not going to give you very much training. We're going to give you very few resources, such that maybe if you have a legal question, is it proper what you're doing? You may not have access to legal advice. What I'm saying is the framework we've set up for these boards is absolutely unworkable. And this is not a secret. This is something we've known since about 1990 when we tried to redraft our Police Services Act in Ontario. And report after inquiry after commission, whether we're talking about Ipperwash, whether we're talking about the G20 debacle in Toronto in 2010, they've all said the same thing. These boards are set up to fail.
Very interesting perspective. Michael, I could spend all day talking to you. It's really interesting, and I'm really grateful for your perspective today. I hope we can be in touch again.
Sure. I mean, I'm a professor. I never stop talking. So
Perfect. Me either. So that's fantastic. Michael Kempa joining us today, Associate Professor of Criminology at the University of Ottawa. Definitely appreciate his perspective. When we come back, Keith Whittier is going to be here. He's going to tell you what to watch on this spooky weekend. Stay with us here on City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Play 4 games of bingo from the comfort of your own home each Monday at 7 p.m. for your chance to win money from our $2,000 regular bingo or $5,000 super bingo night. Kiwanis TV Bingo, Mondays at 7 p.m. on Rogers TV.
Hello, I'm Jim Deeks, host of Canada Files. I hope you'll join me each week for interesting and informative discussions with some of Canada's most impressive people.
I'm Derek Fage, and I encourage you to join me each and every weekday at 2 p.m. for an edition of Daytime Ottawa. We will share with you some fabulous stories, inspirational stories, and of course, recipes from local chefs. We'll tell you about some wonderful musical performances, introduce you to local businesses and charities, and so much more. Join us here on Daytime Ottawa at 2 p.m. weekdays with repeats at 6 and 11 p.m.
He fell.
Whoa, I'm not driving. I'm way too stoned. How are you feeling, Veer?
Oh, since we had that talk, I'm not driving tonight at all.
What about you, Dave?
You only had a couple of drinks.
And only a couple of puffs.
I don't drink and drive. No way I'm getting behind the wheel when I smoked weed, too.
How are we getting home, then?
Oh, you can drive, Dave.
Come on, Dave.
Take one for the team, buddy.
Don't let weed and alcohol influence your decision to drive.
Yeah, I need a ride.
After a 2-year hiatus, we are back with brand new episodes of Celebrate Ottawa starting this fall. We showcase remarkable people highlighting the city's diversity in arts, culture, sports, and nature. We will show you features that will entertain you and will even teach you new things. Join me, your host, Lila Grind, as we explore and celebrate Ottawa.
Hi, I'm Sahai from The Wiggles, and this is my new book, Something in Common. Join me on an adventure as a camp counselor helping some amazing children make friends and share what family means to them. I wrote this book with my friends at Children's Aid Foundation of Canada to help children who might feel lonely or like they don't belong. Not everyone has the same type of family, but we all have something in common. Download Something in Common for free.
Hi, my name is Arkanta and I'm part of Encore Ottawa. My set will be coming out this week, so I hope you can watch it and enjoy it. Thank you.
October 5th, 2014, my daughter was hit by a train. She was walking along the sides of the tracks, and it shattered her world.
News on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Well, it's the Friday before Halloween, of course, is coming up on Monday, but you want to spend the whole weekend getting all spooked out. So we thought, I know who we could talk to, Keith Whittier, who's a movie reviewer. Hi, Keith.
How are you?
I'm fantastic. Now, I've been preparing myself all week for this because I know you like to scare me. So you brought some new movies. We're going to play the trailer for Pray for the Devil.
These sessions are mandatory for all staff, Sister Anne. My mother struggled with depression.
Annie, honey, can I come in?
But even as a child, I knew it was
Annie, open the door, please.
more.
Let me in, Annie! Let me in!
My mother talked about hearing that voice inside. She said the voice didn't really want her. It wanted me.
Okay, Keith, go ahead. Tell me about this one.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a film that just hit theaters this weekend, Pray for the Devil. And basically we've got the Vatican is they're dealing with so many exorcisms, you see, so they're having to farm it out and teach people or teach priests how to perform exorcisms. So there's this one in the States where Sister Anne, played by Jacqueline Byers, is at, And even though women aren't supposed to be doing exorcisms, their whole thing is supposed to be caring and nurturing. And she, has a strong connection to some of the patients that are there. And there might be something, as it alludes to in the trailer, that kind of goes back to her past as a child. This is one of those films where you're really dealing with jump scares more so than anything else. And it's one of those things where it will startle you, but I don't think there's anything in this film that will stay with you and frighten you beyond like the hour and a half that you commit to it. I think there's a lot of great scary movies in theaters right now. Some of them we've already talked about, like Smile. I kind of think this one's a pass, to be honest with you. Something to look forward to your streaming service in like the next month or so. But I don't think there's really anything overly special about or scary about Pray for the Devil. It's the umpteenth movie that deals with exorcisms, and it's nowhere near like in the top 10 of films that deal with that.
And I think it's important to know that Prey is spelled Prey.
Yes.
Right? So very different than Prey.
Yeah, no one's trying to conjure.
No,
trying to conjure this demon up. Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. We have a second trailer we want to share with you, and it is Speak No Evil.
He has what you call congenital aglossia, meaning basically he's born without a tongue.
He's only a child, for Christ's sake.
You can't talk to him that way. What is wrong with you?
We have a situation here. Someone left without saying goodbye.
So many things have felt so wrong.
Okay, Keith. So tell me a little bit about this one.
Yeah, spoiler alert, this will most likely be on my top 10 of 2022. It premiered at the Sundance Film Festival back in January. It's getting its North American release now. It's on Prime Video with a dotted line to the Shudder network. I guess Prime has kind of branched off into a couple of different things, and this is a fantastic film. It's scary because you can see it happening. You basically have two couples, a Danish couple and a Dutch couple, that just happen to meet while they're both on holidays in Tuscany, and then the Dutch couple invites the Danish couple to come and visit them, and they each have a small child, so everything seems to be idyllic, and they're going to get along and everything's going to be fine. Well, the host couple turns out to be a little on the bizarre side, let's just say, and the visiting couple wants to leave, but at the same token, they're kind of in this position where I guess they're kind of Canadian. They're like, we're really polite. We don't want to leave because we don't want to be rude.
Right.
And, craziness ensues. What, for me, and it's all individual opinion, but for me, what makes a film scary is the likelihood of it potentially happening. And this, think about how many times you might go on holidays, you might meet somebody, you're like, hey, we should stay in touch. Sometimes that turns out to be a great thing. Speak No Evil kind of shows you the other side of it. I think this is a fantastic film. I think it is absolutely brilliant. I loved it, and I'm really excited that audiences now have a chance to check it out.
Oh, that's fantastic. The trailer was enough for me, though, Keith. Is that okay?
We can chat about it in person. I can walk you through it. That's
okay,
fine.
perfect. What I love is that you've brought us some Hall of Fame classic mentions as well, leading into Halloween, of course, which is a Monday, which is the worst day to have Halloween, right?
Yeah.
Am I right on that?
Yeah, it's not great. I mean, I think from a kid's perspective, any day could be Halloween, and they'd be okay with it. But from the adult point of view, I hear you.
Absolutely. So let's talk about Paranormal Activity.
Okay, so with Paranormal Activity, I have to tell you, this is one of those series where we're seeing a new installment year after year after year. But I really want to focus on the first three, specifically the third one. But I think to get a full appreciation for the third, you need to see the first and second. Let's remember, this was a movie, Paranormal Activity 1 was a movie that was made on like a $10,000 budget that went on to make well over $100 million. So it basically tells the tale of these two sisters who had these paranormal experiences in their childhood that have now reemerged in their adulthood. Part one focuses on one sister, part two focuses on the second. The third is basically the origin story back to when they were kids. And the tagline for the film when it came out was, the last 10 minutes of this movie will mess you up for life. I will tell you, I saw this film years ago, and it still messes me up when I think about it. It's great. It's a fantastic film, and I think you've seen it spawn not only sequels, but all these different paranormal shows that have popped up on reality TV. But yeah, the first three, specific to the third, fantastic horror films.
Okay, fantastic. And we've got Hounds of Love. What's this about?
Yeah, so this is a film that came out just a few years ago. It's an Australian horror film. And it's a movie that takes place in the 80s. And basically what it is, you've got this couple that are basically going and they're like kidnapping girls, and they're serial killers. Now, the genius of this film is a couple of things. First of all, the fact that it takes place in the 80s kind of does away with any sort of find my phone or being able to track somebody, which also plays into the story. But also, there's absolutely no violence that's being shown in the movie. Everything is left to the audience's imagination, which, with all due respect, could probably be a scarier place at times. So I personally don't care for seeing unnecessary violence on screen. And this movie, channels into that. And they said, we're not going to show you anything. We're going to let you think about it. And it becomes this whole psychological thriller, because as they've kidnapped their latest victim, she has to figure out how she's going to put these two against each other to survive.
Interesting.
Yeah,
it's so
very,
interesting.
very strong film.
Lots of films come out of Australia, and I sort of forget that, that there's a strong scene there. I have still never watched the Blair Witch Project, just to date myself. So, you can kind of see where my tolerance for scary movies is. But
maybe in the morning, in the daylight, all the lights on,
Right.
Yeah, there's no need to watch it at night.
No. Why would we do that?
That's like sitting in the front of a roller coaster. No.
How are you spending Halloween weekend?
Well, this weekend, I feel like I'll just be camping out at TD Place. We got the Red Blacks' last home game of the season tomorrow. Maybe they'll finally win a game at home, and I'm extremely excited for the Ottawa Atletico championship game on Sunday at 6 p.m. at TD Place.
So exciting, and the 67s as well.
I think they go tonight.
They do, and Sunday as well. We had Chris Hofley on from OSEG talking about all the excitement happening at TD Place. And I didn't even clue in that, of course, you'd be there for most of it. So there you go. Absolutely. It's going to be such a great weekend. I'm going to be leaving the studio today right at 1 o'clock, and I'm going to be flying across the city, not literally, but in my car, to the Rogers studio, of course, Rogers TV on Richmond Road, because I'm hosting Daytime today, and we have a special all about Halloween. So it's going to be exciting.
I love it. Right. That's must-see TV right there.
Absolutely, and they've even got me to dress up a little. But anyway, we won't talk about that now. But it's going to be interesting. I'm not really a big costume person, so we're going to see what they come up with. But it's going to be exciting.
That sounds great.
Absolutely. Always appreciate your time. Thanks for all the great mentions today in terms of movies for the weekend, for the spooky weekend. Will you join me next Friday as well?
Absolutely. I cannot wait.
Fantastic. Me either. Keith Whittier is fantastic. Joins us here every Friday to talk about movies. And of course, he's going to join me every Friday, which is excellent. We want you to join us as well. I see the news of the afternoon is going to be coming to you. We're going to be coming back with Lunch with Sam. You want to join us? Stay with us here on City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Join me for Season 3 of Paula Roy's Favorite Foods. Whew, that was a lot. I think I need a nap. On the next episode of Simply Cooking by Chef, tacos aren't only for Tuesday. I make a Mexican taco feast for a crowd.
For 25 years, you've been helping to make our roads safer by doing the right thing. You've been the designated driver, you've stayed over, called home, you've called a cab or a friend, and planned ahead. Let's keep doing the right thing. Support sober driving by getting yourself and your friends home safely.
Do the right thing.
Visit ArriveAlive.org to find out more. Arrive Alive. Drive sober.
There we go.
Hey, going back in, okay?
It's a new season of The New Fly Fisher on Rogers TV.
Every year,
Dozens of Canadians are killed or seriously injured because they take risks around railway tracks. Talk to your loved ones about rail safety. Visit stoptracktragedies.ca.
Little brown girl, little brown girl. Hey, I'm Picasso Win Von Teef. I'm so happy to be involved with Encore Ottawa Season 3. I can't wait for you guys to see what I have in store for you.
City News.
CIWW 1310 AM in Ottawa.
And CJET 1011 FM in Smiths Falls and the Valley. Number 1 for local news, traffic, and weather for Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News 1011 everywhere.
It's Friday, October 28th. Good afternoon. I'm Perushka Gopal-Kista. Right now in Ottawa, partly cloudy skies and 4 degrees, and in Smiths Falls, it's 7. Here's what's making news in Ottawa and the Valley. We've reached a critical point at the inquiry into the Emergencies Act, where the former chief of the Ottawa Police, who stepped down during the convoy protests, is now taking the stand. City News Parliament Hill reporter Cormac McSweeney joins us with more.
The first segment of testimony largely focused on the intelligence in the lead up to the convoy's arrival, despite many examples of intelligence reports warning of a prolonged protest that could pose a threat to national security. Former Ottawa Police Chief Peter Slowly insists there was nothing conclusive in the reports that this would turn into a weeks-long occupation.
Again, all of the reports, the briefings that I was receiving through my chain of command was that this was going to be a weekend event.
Slowly also says he was under the belief that legally they couldn't block the trucks from going downtown, and claims they would have needed 2,000 more officers to do that. He does, however, admit that there's no doubt there are things the force could have done better. The first portion of his testimony ended emotionally when the commission lawyer asked how Ottawa police officers were holding up after the first weekend of the protest. Slowly choked up as he spoke.
They were doing their very best under inhuman circumstances, like the city was, like the community was. It was too cold and it was too much.
Cormac McSweeney, Parliament Hill.
City News time 12:01. Time for a look at the weather for the next few days. Here's City News meteorologist Jill Taylor.
Lots of sunshine today, tomorrow, and for Sunday, and then some wet weather moves in for Monday. Halloween, not the best timing for the trick-or-treaters. We are on the mild side, though. 11 for the guaranteed high today, 16 for the highs on the weekend. Just expect some rather chilly mornings with the temperatures near the freezing mark. For today, the guaranteed high, 11.
Right now in Ottawa, partly cloudy skies and 4 degrees, and in Smiths Falls, it's 7. We've heard how Canadians are accessing food banks across the country. So what's been the situation locally? City News reporter Chris Curries tells us how things are looking at the Ottawa Food Bank.
The number of people who are using a food bank continues to climb.
We saw a 15% increase over March of last year as well. But I'll also point out that since March of this year, we've seen a 12% increase, and we're expecting another 15% increase before December.
And Rachel Wilson says they're not seeing any relief in sight. Of the visitors, they're seeing an increase in seniors and in children.
We also know that about 30% of the people who access food banks are children. So it's families that need to access food banks, and that many of them have 2 or 3 children that live with them.
As for the rising costs, the CEO for the Ottawa Food Bank says they used to spend $2 million per year on food, and now with more users and rising food prices, that number is now at $6 million. Chris Curries, City News.
Now, Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland is set to deliver an update on federal finances in the release of the fall economic statement on November 3rd. The fiscal update will also share the government's outlook for the economy as it works to anticipate the effects of high inflation and a potential recession in the coming months. But over in the U.S., it looks like inflation remained painfully high last month.
The Commerce Department report shows consumer prices up 6.2% in September over a year earlier. The report also shows consumers spent more last month, even after adjusting for inflation, up 0.6% from August to September.
Now, this is the latest sign that prices for most goods and services in the United States are rising steadily. Over in the UK, Britain's Royal Mint has unveiled the first coins to feature the portrait of King Charles III. The new monarch's effigy was created by British sculptor Martin Jennings and has been personally approved by Charles.
It has to be an image that will persist over the years and that will represent the generality of what people imagine monarchy to be about. So it's not just a portrait of him, it needs to contain the role.
Now, Britons will begin to see Charles's image on their change from around December as 50-pence coins depicting him gradually enter circulation. I'm Perishka Gopal-Kister. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
Connecting you and your community. This is the Sam Laprade Show on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Okay, everybody, it's lunchtime. This day is flying by. We hope that you stay with us and have a little lunch. We're going to be feasting on lots of great topics today. We'd like to welcome to the show Laura Peck, Senior Partner at Transform Leaders. Hi, Laura.
Hi, Sam. You've got a big day ahead of you.
I do. And welcome to lunch. We're also inviting to the table Cam Holmstrom, Principal at Niipaawi Strategies. Hi, Cam.
Hello there.
It's so great to have you for lunch as well today. Listen, this has obviously been a very big week in our city. I want to get right to some of these hot topics. Former Ottawa Police Chief Peter Slowly, as we know, is testifying at the Emergencies Act inquiry today. Laura, what are your expectations of what we're going to hear from the former chief today?
Well, it's very compelling. If anybody's been watching it on television, I certainly have. He was emotional.
Laura, are you hearing something else in your headphones?
I am.
Okay, so we're going to put you on hold, you and Cam. We're going to get it sorted. Our producers are going to work on this. This has unfortunately been something that's happened a couple of times. So we're going to put you on hold right now and work on that. Are we okay, guys?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay, fantastic. Laura, I think we're back. I think they said they fixed it now. So Laura, it is emotional, right, for the chief, former chief?
Yeah, it's very compelling, and he spoke of the complexity of the, large numbers of people coming in. It was too cold. I think all of us can agree with that. Mm-hmm. But he was there to defend his own credibility. He's showing humility. He admits mistakes were made. At one point, he came to tears, but not sounding sorry for himself, but speaking from the heart. And so this is true reputation damage that he is trying to clear up. And so far, Chief Slowly has made a good start, but he may never fully recover. This is going to be seared in everybody's brains, and minds, and hearts for a long time. So, he's making a start.
For sure. And Laura, you've made a really good point in terms of, I don't think anyone becomes a police chief thinking about themselves, right? They're thinking about the 2,000 members. And I had the pleasure of spending some time with Chief Slowly when he first came to Ottawa, and he was so excited to be here in the capital. And I know that this has weighed heavy on him, and we know mistakes have been made, Cam. And this is what this inquest is all about, right? We're really the bottom line, and the crux of it all is, were the Emergency Act required? Was that act, definitely required during that time to move things forward? Cam, what are you hoping to hear from the former chief today?
Honestly, at this point, I don't know what I could hear from him that would make me happy. Just because it's not a comment on the individual, because I felt he was put in the. Frankly, when he was appointed to the position, he was put in an extremely difficult position of trying to turn around a police force that has gone through lots of turmoil long before this, right? So it was already a big job, and there was already that internal fighting going on that wasn't going to help matters. The reason why there's nothing that can really make me happy here is because of what happened. He can give me every reason why, right? I can believe maybe his heart was in the right place. His head was firmly somewhere else. And I say this as an Indigenous person who's participated in protests in Ottawa, right? And the things that the things that happened in January and February are the kinds of things that no Indigenous group or individuals would never get away with, or any other group would get away with. And there's that idea of privilege in this. That when you hear him explaining basically how he bent over backwards for this group and allowing things that no group ever would be allowed in a protest of any sort, under any circumstance, let alone this one, is frustrating to me because it just speaks to double standards. And the kicker is that it's not like his view of what was coming was universal. There were ample warning signs coming from other police departments and everything else, right? So it's like he ignored all of that, which is, I'm sorry, it's unforgivable. Yes, unfortunately, he probably wears more of this than he deserves. Like, to me, this is a pox on all your houses situation, because there's a lot of people who drop balls throughout all this, not just Chief Slowly. But you know what? It is what it is. The fact is that if that first couple days had not played out the way it had, if it had been treated like any other protest in Ottawa, where you would not have been allowed to park massive semi-trucks in the downtown, right, that thing would have been over. It would have been over quick, and this would never have been what it was. The fact is, if you want to talk about the quote-unquote original sin in all this, it was Chief Slowly's, because it was his decision and his leadership that led to that. And then everything else about did we need the act or not flows from that, as far as I'm concerned, because those original policing mistakes that created the longer-term situation, and I can prove that by pointing to places like Toronto and elsewhere who never got the same problem because they acted quickly and acted proactively.
Well, and it's so interesting because we had a number of representatives on from the BIPOC community talking about how, and I know you both will recall this, they shut down an intersection for a matter of hours and was removed regarding the police budget. So, to your point, there, it certainly was dealt with very differently, let's put it that way. Laura, let's talk a little bit about Premier Doug Ford and at the time, Solicitor General Sylvia Jones. They have been called to testify, and quite honestly, when I walked through the list for the very first time, I was looking for their names. They weren't there. And we know that now they're using parliamentary privilege, going to court to try and get out of testifying. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'm surprised that Premier Ford isn't going to testify, because the winning thing that he always has in his own strategic communications is that when people meet him, they like him. And even though we have all suffered in Ottawa and all the surrounding communities after 2.5 years of a pandemic, we would like to hear from the Premier as to what happened and how it happened. And usually he does a pretty good performance, and people end up sort of looking at him like he's a big teddy bear and going, oh, okay, well, we get it, all right. So I wish he would turn up. I wish he would say something. I think the people deserve it, and they want to hear from him.
Well, I was really disappointed this week. I mean, he finally answered some questions in question period. I think he had 7. He answered one of them, just kept referring, oh, well, this is a federal act called by federal ministers, et cetera, et cetera. I think, and I've said this before, I think he forgets that Ottawa is in Ontario. We know, through a number of different situations, particularly the so-called Freedom Convoy, that he was the Ontario champion of hide and go seek. I mean, we couldn't find him here. He didn't know how to make his way down the 401. So I'm not sure why at this point he would still want to, dodge his responsibility here. Cam, what are your thoughts?
Because that's his instinct, unfortunately. And I agree about the comment about the brand, the Ford brand, about, call me and I'll be there, right? This runs totally counter to that. But it's not surprising because, the fact is that everyone owes some blame on this, right? Everyone owns some of this, including the province, because guess what? Municipal policing is governed by provincial law. It involves the OPP, which is the provincial police force. So 2 of the 3 forces that were acting on this are directly under the Premier's jurisdiction. So this idea of a federal inquiry, yada, 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 you know what? You'd hope the Premier, for his just for good governance sake, would want to take part, so they can get to the bottom of what happened, so that we don't have a repeat of this, right? Because it could happen in another city, and you want to figure out what went wrong and how you do better next time. The thing that bothers me about more than anything else is that it's one thing to say I don't want to testify. I don't think many people want to testify. That's the Prime Minister. I don't think he wants to be there, but he's going to go, as are other federal ministers. So take your privilege, your parliamentary privilege, and throw that out the window because, yeah, they've got it too, and they're choosing to waive it to go do this, right? So this is a choice. But what bothers me, it's not even just saying no, it's that he's taking it to court.
Right.
He's actually going to waste taxpayers' dollars fighting this, and that's been probably one of the hallmarks of his premiership. You know, he spent 4 years in court fighting to keep his mandate letters to his ministers secret, right? Like, you think of all the money that's been blown on that could have gone towards hiring a few nurses or doctors or giving some teachers aides in a classroom. But no, it went to a CYA exercise for Mr. Ford, and they're doing it again. And to me, what blows my mind about it is that if you even politically think about it, it's not like he has an election around the corner.
Right.
He just won a bigger majority by basically taking the position of using the act was right. So at the end of the day, it's not like people are expecting him to go in there and say something terrible or whatever that's going to blow it all up. You know, he's on the right side of public opinion on this one for once. Yet for some reason, he still won't go. It looks terrible on so many levels, which makes you ask the question, what haven't we heard yet that he doesn't want to hear?
Well, and that's what's so interesting about it. And can you imagine what his response would be if Prime Minister Justin Trudeau wasn't going to be part of an inquiry, or Mayor Watson decided he wasn't going to be part of it? You know, Premier Ford would be the very first person to say, you know, how horrible it was that they weren't doing that. I mean, he's not getting his picture picking up PPE, or he's not getting his picture shoveling stuff. He's going to need a brand new shovel next week because there's going to be a lot of stuff coming down next week, and I'm certainly looking forward to that. We're going to come back on Lunch with Sam on City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Play 4 games of bingo from the comfort of your own home each Monday at 7 p.m. for your chance to win money from our $2,000 regular bingo or $5,000 super bingo night. Kiwanis TV Bingo, Mondays at 7 p.m. on Rogers TV.
My husband is a wonderful man and a great father when he's not drinking. I'm so angry he chooses alcohol over us. If he really loved us, he'd stop drinking, right? My counselor suggested I try Al-Anon. I didn't understand why. I'm not the one with the problem, but I'm glad I went. Do you worry about someone's drinking? You are not alone. Al-Anon or Alateen can help. Call 866-200-0033 or visit alanon.org/hope.
Monsieur de Champlain, when I finish paddling through this wilderness and reach China, I shall greet them wearing this.
Monsieur Nicolet, your mission shall be for the honor of the king and the Holy Faith.
In the summer of 1634, Jean Nicolet set off from Quebec to find a trade route that would link Europe and North America with China.
But where is it?
Further. I know the place you are seeking.
For months, Nicolet pushed through the wilderness, searching for the Western Sea.
Scotia! Mississippi!
What did he say?
He says, Mississippi, great water.
Mississippi, the sea, China.
Jean Nicolet was wrong. It was Lake Michigan, not the Pacific. But others would follow his dream, Joliet, La Salle, the La Vérendrys, and they would map most of North America from the Rockies to the Gulf of Mexico.
Donations to the War Amps have a lasting impact on amputees. Today, your support gives them the artificial limbs and resources they need for everyday activities and learning to live with amputation. Having access to our essential programs helps amputees prepare for tomorrow on their road to independence. The War Amps is committed to improving the quality of life for Canadian amputees, but this wouldn't be possible without you. To learn how your donation helps, visit waramps.ca.
Hello, I'm Jim Deeks, host of Canada Files. I hope you'll join me each week for interesting and informative discussions with some of Canada's most impressive people.
Hi, my name is Arkantel and I'm part of Encore Ottawa. My set will be coming out this week, so I hope you can watch it and enjoy it. Thank you.
The Sam Laprade Show continues on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Well, it's lunchtime here at Rogers TV and City News. We're so happy that you're spending your lunchtime with us. And at the table today is Cam Holmstrom, principal at Niipaawi Strategies, and Laura Peck, senior partner at Transform Leaders. It has been a very busy week in our city. We have a new mayor-elect, a lot of new councillors. Cam, what are you thinking in terms of the hopes for this new council?
Well, I think we'll find out pretty quick in all of this just how much change we may or may not see in this council. So to me, I think the big test is going to be early on is with the new mayor. He's going to have new tools at his disposal. I know he said during the campaign he wouldn't use them, but I'm kind of curious to see how long that lasts, or if frustration of certain members or or a large number of new councillors pushes him in that direction to use those big mayor powers. So I think that's going to be the push and pull. I think there's an opportunity at the start here with so much new blood in the chamber to kind of get past some of the struggles that we've seen in that chamber over the last term and maybe get something done. But we'll see. I think a lot of it's just come back down to the attitude just the tone that the mayor sets, because frankly, he holds the big cudgel that no one's ever had before, and how he uses that will really determine how this all goes, I think.
It's going to be so interesting. And, you know, it's so interesting, Laura, we saw obviously this campaign unfold, and then we saw Mark, give a great speech that night. Catherine McKenney gave a great speech. And then a couple of days later, we see Mark on the front page of the Ottawa Citizen and walking into that building for the very first time as the mayor-elect. And, when I looked at that picture, I thought, boy, does he understand what he's getting into? I mean, obviously he knows he's going to be the mayor, but there's so many layers to being the mayor, especially of the capital, Laura. Laura, are you there?
Oh, yeah, I'm here. I watched it was a committee meeting yesterday with the 11 new councillors, and fingers crossed that we get over the divisions and dysfunction that we all heard about that was happening for years. So there's a fresh start, a new mayor, and there seems to be a very large mandate and a big interest in being more inclusive with the 28 surrounding communities and making sure that everybody's voice gets heard. But at the same time, it's sort of like if you want to hear everybody's voice, they all have to take the responsibility to be able to come to the point much more quickly, not be dysfunctional, because people want to see a cohesive group moving through all of the big problems that we have. So now we have this large mandate. Obviously, the voters liked that mandate, and so it's time to get on with it.
It is time to get on with it, for sure. One of the big topics, of course, through this whole election campaign from everybody that was running, including councillors, it was really affordable housing and what that's going to look like. We know that this city is going to grow by another 500,000 people. We need housing, Cam, and Ontario put forward a new housing bill this week, allowing triplexes to be built, trying to get that density within cities. Is this a good move on behalf of the province?
It's interesting. I have this general frustration with the Ford government, and that is that whenever they do something that I think is good and I think is a step forward, there's always something they throw into it that just makes me cringe and question, just what else they're putting behind it. The idea of what they put forward about just the high level of it, of waiving some zoning requirements and allowing for more backfilling, putting triplexes on lots, I think that's good. You know what? Like, we need more of this. We need more of this. And the fact is that we're at a point where that's where things get held up. Is at that level. So yes, to me, I like that. But then he threw other stuff in the legislation about stripping back powers of the conservation authorities and things like that, which is like, that doesn't help. Like, so what? So now you want to stop you want to let people build on floodplains. because then only insurance companies are just going to love that down the road as climate change keeps rolling out. So it's like, one step forward, one step back, right? And I have to wonder why it is some of the stuff's added in there. But yeah, the idea of actually getting stuff built is important because, you know what, I don't agree with my local MPP, Mr. Steve Clark, very often. But on this score, he was right. We have reached a point when it comes to municipal development where you can't build anything anywhere where anyone is anymore. And that's not right. We need to be able to actually give spaces for people to live. And I'm tired of the excuses of, it'll drive down my property values. I don't want these people in my neighborhood, et cetera, et cetera. Everyone needs somewhere to live. And you don't have some grand specific right to exclusivity that you can pick the neighbors around you and all of that. I'm sorry. You don't have that. Let's get building.
Let's get building, absolutely. Laura, what are your thoughts in terms of the new Ontario housing bill?
Yeah, I watched and read a lot what the city planners are talking about, and even they say it's very complex. They are trying to absorb the implications. I think we all agree that we need more affordable housing, clearing away some of the red tape. Our suburban communities have been underserved. So I think it's important to have affordable housing. I agree with Cam. Everybody needs to have a place they can call home, and it makes a big difference in everybody's mental health, their financial health, and in every way if they have a decent place to live in. So Ottawa is such a fantastic city. Let's figure out how to make this happen. And the city planners, they say that this is what they're trying to work on right now.
Definitely going to be interesting watching this very closely here on City News. This is definitely going to change the face of our city and the province, to be honest. Let's change gears a little bit. Let's leave on a little bit of a fun note. Halloween, of course, is on Monday. Cam, were you a kid that liked to get dressed up?
Oh, I did. You know, my late maternal grandmother used to love making our costumes. And she was a great sewer, and she made these amazing costumes that literally my younger brother wore for many years. They made him a bunny costume one year, which he ended up wearing for Easter until he was like 16, going to deliver Easter eggs. I know my brother, I'm going to clip this for him. He'll love that I said this on air. But to me, it's like, it's those great memories. And growing up where I grew up in the Northwest, like literally it snowed more than half the time. So you were literally in the snowsuit with the costume over top, rolling over snowbanks because you couldn't step over them. So lots of great memories. And I know I'm looking forward to Monday night, get a chance to have some of these memories of my daughter as she gets out again this year. And like she's already got her costume already, and you know, she's quite excited about it. And I'm looking forward to it.
That's fantastic. Do you have great memories of Halloween, Laura?
Oh, well, I'm from Sydney Mines, Cape Breton, so I've had a few eggs thrown at me on Halloween.
Oh, no.
But anyway, my Ottawa, don't tell anybody this, okay? Promise.
Our secret.
But Joe Biden might be showing up.
Wow.
You know, we've had former presidents show up on Halloween. It's just amazing how they get here without, you know, we have 5 levels of police in the area, and he might show up, and then Major, his dog, he might even show up as a little black dog. I know that sounds amazing.
Now, is Dr. Biden showing up? That's what I want to know.
Dr. Biden, I don't know. I don't know about that, but for sure, we're keeping it all very, very quiet. That's for sure.
Like fun.
And I think everybody, we're all sort of wondering what's going to happen. I've got way too many candies, so please come to my door and take them away. But not my Mars bars, okay? I need those.
Mine are the peanut butter cups. They don't leave the house either.
Coffee crisp.
There you go.
Crisp all day long.
We've all got our favorites. Thank you so much. Speaking about all those yummy treats, it is lunchtime, and I appreciate you sharing lunch with me today. Cam Holmstrom, thank you so much, and Laura Peck for spending time with us today. When we come back, it's the business lunch. Don't go anywhere. Lock it in to City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
October 5th, 2014, my daughter was hit by a train.
She was walking along the sides of the tracks, and it shattered her world.
Join me for Season 3 of Paula Roy's Favorite Foods. Whew, that was a lot. I think I need a nap.
Think it's okay to drive high? Think again. Drug-impaired driving is as illegal as drunk driving, and in Ontario, the penalties are the same. If police suspect you're driving under the influence of drugs of any kind, or a combination of drugs and alcohol, and you fail a roadside test, your license will be suspended immediately for up to 30 days. You'll pay a penalty of $198. And you can be charged with a criminal offense of impaired driving, the same as alcohol. Driving high is never okay.
Do you have something to share? Let everyone know about your next meeting, your need for volunteers, or your fundraising event on the Rogers TV Community Billboard. Send us your words and we'll bring them to life on Rogers TV and rogerstv.com. When it's time to spread the word, go to rogerstv.com to add your announcement to the Community Billboard.
On the next episode of Simply Cooking by Chef, tacos aren't only for Tuesday. I make a Mexican taco feast for a crowd.
Every year, dozens of Canadians are killed or seriously injured because they take risks around railway tracks. Talk to your loved ones about rail safety. Visit stoptracktragedies.ca.
Number 1 for local news, traffic, and weather for Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News 1011 everywhere.
It's Friday, October 28th. Good afternoon. I'm Perushka Gopal-Kista. Right now in Ottawa and in Smiths Falls, partly cloudy skies and 7 degrees. Here's what's making news this hour. Ottawa's former police chief is defending the way he interpreted intelligence that warned of a large convoy of protesters heading to Ottawa. During his testimony, Peter Slowly says the intel warned that protesters posing a threat to public safety were heading to the nation's capital, adding that he acted on the information in the best way he could have. He is testifying at the public inquiry into the federal government's use of the Emergencies Act to clear Freedom Convoy protesters out of the downtown core. Now, he also pointed out that there wasn't just one Freedom Convoy, but multiple that descended on the city. The Ontario government says it will spend nearly $6 million to create 4 specialized units for people with dementia and other complex needs at long-term care homes in the province. Long-term care Minister Paul Calandra says that new units will help residents with unique needs get the care that they need while avoiding unnecessary hospitalizations. Calandra says the new units will help reduce the pressure on the province's hospitals, which have seen temporary ER closures and long wait times in recent months due to staff shortages. And here in the capital, tickets for the city's biggest outdoor music festival is now on sale because a major musician is set to headline. Country star Shania Twain will headline RBC's Blues Fest July 6th next year. Now, the festival says they will announce the rest of the lineup and other dates in the new year. Blues Fest will take place at LeBreton Flats. City News Time, 12:32. I'm Perushka Gopal-Kista. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
The Sam Laprade Show continues on City News
1011 FM and 1310 AM.
Well, a couple of weeks ago, we started doing things a little bit different between 12:30 and 1. And what we do is we put a spotlight on all things business. It is the business lunch, and I have invited Mike Eppel to lunch today. Hi, Mike.
Hey, how you doing today?
Great. Mike Eppel, of course, senior business editor with City News 680. Mike, I mean, on the minds of everyone today is Elon Musk and his purchase of Twitter. What are you hearing?
Well, I think it's on the minds of everyone, but is this story actually being overplayed? Mm-hmm. Because when you look at the list of where Twitter stands in the social media sphere, it's about number 10, for the number of daily and monthly users. Facebook and Instagram and Snap and all these other platforms are much bigger. TikTok, has a billion monthly users. Twitter's around 220 to 250 million. So Elon Musk gets the attention. And of course, Twitter, he wants to make it into the town square for public discourse. Mm-hmm. But isn't it already that? And to what end? Does the criticism, if you will, about Twitter has been about bots, fake accounts, the vitriol, some of the vile garbage that you hear on it or read on it, sometimes, depending on what the topic is. Most of it's political. So it's going to be interesting to see what he actually does with this. Does he, just open it up to a free-for-all? He says not, but how do you allow for quote-unquote free speech if you're going to put restrictions on it? So, right. I mean, it's a circumstance where it's one really rich guy, and look, he's a genius. Like, you can't take that away from him. He is as wealthy as he is because he's built fabulous companies. Mm-hmm. And, but at the same time, there's no regulation, oversight, regulatory body that's saying, you might want to cut some of that back. And I mean, my own personal they're talking about edit function and all this stuff that people have been saying that Twitter needs. Honestly, when you try to report something that is malicious or fake or what have you, good luck doing that. It's actually pretty difficult. So, I mean, so he's buying this company. What's he going to do with it? He has immediately gone in and turfed the entire executive team, and he's probably going to cut thousands of jobs. Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting. I mean, it is interesting from that standpoint, but what he does with it next, who knows? It's so interesting you say that. One time my daughter and I were caught in a hailstorm, and so I took a bit of, sort of video of it because it was kind of fascinating and the sound of it and all of that. And I posted on Twitter, and all of a sudden I was banned on Twitter. I was told, you've done something and you're banned from Twitter. And so they took me off Twitter. I had to agree that I did something bad, which I didn't. So I finally just said, I did something bad, which I knew wasn't bad. And then weeks later, they sent me an apology saying, we've reviewed this and you didn't do anything bad. So I just find it ironic that a video of hail is getting stopped, but yet, to your point, some of the garbage that's put on there, the hate that's put on there, gets a pass. Yeah. Well, and if he does cut, maybe, he was saying apparently to the investors in Twitter who's backing him on this deal, he's not paying all of the $44 billion himself. Mm-hmm. He's got all sorts of deep pockets. There's Saudi money coming into this. He's talking about cutting 75% of the workforce. Well, if you eliminate that many people who might be those involved in some sort of oversight, does that not take away that actual oversight? Right. So, I don't know. There are days where I just I'm on Twitter and I'm like, I'm posting, and yet when I scan through things, I just actually want to just delete my account. Honestly, there's moments. Yeah, there are just moments, and that's mm-hmm. social media though. That's not just Twitter. That's everything. Mm-hmm. Where you're just going, oh, this is ridiculous. I don't need this. We're on it because we're kind of supposed to be on it, but at the same time, do you really want to be on it? Yeah, exactly. It's probably better for our mental health not to be. It's like you're in my mind because I've had that exact same conversation with myself. So let's switch gears a little bit and speak about those gas prices. It just seems every time I look, it's ticking up by 3 cents at a time. And now driving in today, I think it was about $1.76 today. Are we going to see it $2, do you think, Mike? Well, I don't like doing those types of predictions because unfortunately they become a self-fulfilling prophecy where you give them every excuse to raise the price by just talking about it. I like to look at the fundamentals of the market, and what is actually happening right now is the fact that if you look at the supply of refined gasoline along the U.S. Eastern Seaboard, and here in Eastern Canada we're affected by the U.S. market. It's sort of an east-west dividing line.
in the energy trade. And out west, they've got their own issues because they got no supply south of Vancouver and Seattle. So Vancouver's already had record prices for the past couple of months. Here we've been up until, a couple of weeks ago, not too bad with gas, relatively speaking. It's still expensive, about $1.50. Now it's approaching $1.80, and the supply to the U.S. market, specifically in New York, is down about 25% from where it was this time a year ago. So what happens when you have less supply? And, hey, last time I checked, everybody's still driving. Doesn't seem to matter. Everybody's still flying. That doesn't seem to matter. We're still filling up the gas tank. Price is going up. Now, you raise the other issue with all of this, the fact that the energy companies that have all been reporting earnings this week, and the latest this morning, ExxonMobil, a record $19.7 billion in profit.
Wow.
Chevron, $11 billion. These are some of the biggest earnings ever from the energy sector. And you're going, well, why is that? How are they making so much money even as they're raising the price? And isn't the base commodity, doesn't that take away some of their earnings potential? No. What happens is when you look at the profit margin on a percentage basis doesn't change. So everything that they produce, whether it's oil out of the ground, refined gasoline, natural gas, and diesel fuel, the percentage profit margin, it goes up along with the base price. So they're actually making more money on every liter or gallon that they produce. So it's frustrating because, there's talk about a windfall tax. They're trying to push that through in the UK right now. I don't know if it's going to happen. And should companies be faced with, in this case, a commodity and something we all need, unless we switch to electric, and even that's got its own issues with the production of electricity and pricing. Don't want to get into that. But anyway, do you somehow get a windfall tax on these companies, and then where does that money go? Because don't forget, who's else making a lot of money right now out of this? The federal government and the provincial government. Yeah. They're the HST is a tax on a tax, and that basically every time the price goes up at the base level, the HST percentage-wise that doesn't change. So it's more money. And listen, what we're hearing from Ontario, they've got a budget surplus by the looks of things, and the federal government on track for a budget surplus.
And it's really hard, Mike, for families to hear this, right? And people that are struggling. And you think about what $100 or $200 might mean for a family right now. We know those food banks are working overtime. And we know that here in Ottawa, pre-pandemic, they were serving $39,000 or 39,000 people a month, and now they're up over 52,000 people a month. So that $100 or $200 that's going into the gas tank, and essentially, to your point, going to taxes and to these big companies, really hard to stomach.
Well, this is the frustration. This is the frustration of why you've got a lot of calls for, again, windfall taxes on big companies, and the government subsequently then again have to offer up more in the way of assistance through whatever. I don't know how you would do that without fueling inflation, and that's another thing. But it's just a circle of consumer pressure that we're going through right now. And and if you want something to yell at, well, you yell at what you can see, and that's the rising price of the pumps.
And you just follow, obviously, all things business. Is there a business in this country that you think is doing well in terms of not only the bottom line and producing results for their shareholders, but also people that are giving back to the country in some way? Is there a business that that is kind of ticking all those boxes, Mike?
There are some. I look at a company like, and a lot of them have sort of an environmental bent. You heard Patagonia recently. The owner basically donated the entire company to a charity. Any earnings that goes into the environmental movement. Lululemon's kind of in that same category. The problem is, what did Galen Weston just do with Loblaws? They said, we're going to freeze prices for no-name products. Okay. The problem is that doesn't lower prices. It just freezes them where they were, and he got ripped for it because he's one of the country's wealthiest individuals. So even even when they try, and maybe it's PR, maybe it's not, to do right by consumers, they get raked over the coals for it anyway. So it's difficult to find. Companies almost don't want to promote some of these things because again, they just get. It's like, you're still making too much money.
Always appreciate your perspective. You do such a great job, Mike. Thank you so much for spending time with us today at City News Ottawa. Mike Eppel, of course, Senior Business Editor at City News 680. We appreciate him joining us, of course, today for the Business Lunch. When we come back, we're going to meet Graham Fallis. He is the Senior Wealth Advisor at Reid Wealth Group. Stay with us here on City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Little brown girl, little brown girl. Hey, I'm Picasso in Von Teef. I'm so happy to be involved with Encore Ottawa Season 3. I can't wait for you guys to see what I have in store for you.
I'm Derek Fage, and I encourage you to join me each and every weekday at 2 p.m. for an edition of Daytime Ottawa. We will share with you some fabulous stories, inspirational stories, and of course, recipes from local chefs. We'll tell you about some wonderful musical performances, introduce you to local businesses and charities, and so much more. Join us here on Daytime Ottawa at 2 p.m. weekdays with repeats at 6 and 11 p.m.
After a night out with your friends, not having a plan for a safe ride home can leave you in a bad spot. You could end up riding in a police car, an ambulance, or a hearse. These unplanned modes of transportation can be a costly choice and do not take you home. Your plan could include a designated driver, a taxi, or public transit. Drink responsibly, choose your ride, and have a plan for a safe ride home.
Visit arrivealive.org to find out more.
Hey folks, it's me, Giovanni Patini, the host of the RTV quiz show, the hottest show on television. It's the hilarious quiz show where you, the viewers, play for valuable non-existent prizes. It's got great trivia, fun facts, and a lot of laughs, all blended together in a perfect cocktail of edutainment. So join us Wednesdays at 7:30 right here on Rogers TV. Nice.
I am Audrey. And I'm Leah. Leah inspired me to play hockey. The War Amp has helped me by giving me my devices I need to play hockey.
Audrey has an amputation similar to mine.
What does yours do? The stick clicks in it?
My device from the War Amp allows me to shoot a lot better. It rotates like a wrist, which helps a lot with shooting and stick handling.
When I score a goal, I feel really happy.
Play 4 games of bingo from the comfort of your own home each Monday at 7 p.m. for your chance to win money from our $2,000 regular bingo or $5,000 super bingo night. Kiwanis TV Bingo, Mondays at 7 p.m. on Rogers TV.
Hello, I'm Jim Deeks, host of Canada Files. I hope you'll join me each week for interesting and informative discussions with some of Canada's most impressive people.
Show continues on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Well, this week, money certainly has been on the minds of so many. It has been a challenging week for homeowners, knowing that interest rate hike happened 0.5% this week, and so many people are looking at the bottom line in terms of their own finances. We wanted to spend some time today with Graham Fallis, Senior Wealth Advisor at Scotia Wealth. Hi, Graham. Hi, Graham. Are you there, Graham?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. Nice to connect with you on the Business Lunch.
Thank you so much for having me, Sam.
And Graham, let's talk a little bit about how people can sort of, get through this challenging time? Because as we know, the financial plan is a long game, and it can sometimes feel very challenging for people. What advice are you giving people right now in terms of their own portfolios?
Well, the first thing really, Sam, is to make sure you have a plan in place and that plan has been stress tested. So if you've not had a plan in place and now you're undergoing the uncertainty of rising interest rates, inflation, a market downturn, it can be really, really unsettling and really, really unnerving. Mm-hmm. So the advice would be go back and start from scratch and get a plan done. You may find that things are not as bad as they are. They may feel worse than they are. But by actually taking stock of your circumstances and your situation, then you can do some things about it. Just making an emotional reaction based on a thought or a probability that you're concerned about isn't a very good strategy.
And what are the elements of this plan, Graham, that you're referring to? What should we have in there?
Well, so it depends on what your specific goals and objectives are. A lot of what we do at Reid Wealth Group is we focus on retirement planning. We help people find their number. We define that as the amount of money that you need to retire and stay retired for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. So if that's a concern because there's stress about whether or not you can slow down, or if you've already slowed down and now you've seen increase in expenses because of inflation, higher interest rates, you've seen a downturn in your portfolio, it would be a very, very good idea to do some number crunching to make sure there is enough set aside. If you're working towards that, it's always a good time to calculate that. Understanding what your number is, how much you need, alleviates a lot of stress and concern typically.
And Graham, are people surprised at that number you refer to? Or are people pleasantly surprised, or are they a bit shocked?
So that's very individualistic. Sometimes it's an extremely pleasant surprise. We do the numbers and you have a surplus, you have more than you actually need. That's a desirable and enviable position to be in. Other times, actually, it's no surprise. You realize you're coming short, but at least when you know, then you can take some concrete actions to ensure that gap is fulfilled. The kiss of death from a financial planning perspective is worrying that you may have a shortfall and not actually ascertaining if that shortfall exists and then doing nothing about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And when should we start thinking about retirement? I mean, my daughter who's 15 is like, I'm saving for retirement. I'm like, oh, heavens to Betsy, which is great that she's got that, sort of look on life that she knows she needs to save. But at what point in our lives should we be thinking about what our number is?
Yeah, so the earlier you do that, the better. We talk about financial planning and retirement as if it's a destination or end goal quite often. Really what it's about is freedom and some financial flexibility. So you don't want to get to a stage in life where there is a shortfall and you're obligated to work. You're obligated to do things you don't want to do. So that your daughter has an interest in that, that's very, very good. If that's the only thing someone focuses on, that as you know yourself, probably it's a pretty miserable focus to focus on that all the time.
For sure. So when people are meeting with you, what are you asking them to bring with them, Graham? Obviously, they're some of the investments they have and sort of their goals and all of that. What else is being brought to the table?
Yeah, so when we talk about financial planning, it can be as simple as doing some back-of-the-envelope calculations so someone has a rough idea, or we can get into the nitty-gritty and go through tax returns line by line, look at every single investment statement. The key thing that we want to know for our clients is what do they want their lifestyle to look like? What does it look like now? What do they want it to look like in the future? And how much is that costing them? And then based on that,
we'll do all the calculations. We'll take a look at what sort of investments you have, if anything. We'll take a look at what sort of pensions you have, if you have them. We can take a look at OAS and CPP. All those things can be factored in, but it really boils down to what's the lifestyle that you want, and we need to put a time frame to that, and we need to put a cost to that.
I just had a conversation yesterday with one of my friends, and she was talking about the fact that they live in a home that's way too big for them. They've got they're empty nesters now, but they're not kind of wanting to move because they're going to have to spend a lot of money on obviously a new place and just kind of what that's going to look like. How much does real estate factor into this conversation you have with people, Graham?
So we try not to have real estate factor in, because everybody needs a place to live. So in an ideal world, when you're doing a plan, the real estate is left aside, is accounted for from an estate planning purpose. If we really want to get clients to a stage where all their decisions are lifestyle focused. So if you are at a stage where you feel like you want to downsize, you're doing it not for financial reasons, because it makes sense for you and what you want.
Mm-hmm. Interesting conversation. And how important is it to have the conversation with your grown children as well about this plan?
It's very, very important. So what you'll see is sometimes intergenerational stress occurs if children are worried about mom and dad. It is also a best practice. We all want our children to do better than we have done in life, and part of that is having an open conversation about some of the things you need to do. One of those things is financial planning.
Such an important conversation. Learning lots from you today, Graham. If someone's listening right now and they're thinking, hey, I want to reach out to Graham and find out what my number is, how would they do that?
Yeah, the best way is to go to our website, which is findyournumber.ca, and they can connect through that website with us, and we're happy to chat with anybody who's got any concerns about whether or not they have enough to have the lifestyle that they want.
Such an important conversation, Graham. Thank you so much for the great advice, and have a great weekend.
Sam, thank you so much. I hope you have a lovely weekend as well.
Thank you so much, Graham. Fallis joining us there. He's the Senior Wealth Advisor with Scotia Wealth. An important conversation there. We're heading into the weekend, and I want to know, Noah, what are you doing this weekend? Are you doing anything exciting?
Not so much, really.
No?
I've just got some friends coming over,
Okay,
but
well, that's fun.
That's be nice.
That's fun. I have the pleasure of working with Noah, of course, here at City News, and Alex. Hello, Alex. How are you?
Hi, Sam. How are you?
Any big weekend plans?
Well, I'm off to a big adventure somewhere else, I'm right in the middle of a move. So hopefully I can kind of get some fun in between the packing. But aside from that, I not much on the horizon. Maybe watch a couple spooky movies now that I have good suggestions from Keith.
Exactly.
But we'll see what happens.
And you've been a big part of our team, Alex, for a long time, and your last day is coming up on Wednesday. We're going to miss you very much.
Well, I'm going to miss all of you. It's been almost 3 years, but it's been a slice.
But I think 3 years, because 2.5 of it was in a pandemic, I think that means you've actually worked here for about 15 years.
Yeah, I've actually aged like 20 years.
Right, exactly.
I'm almost ready for retirement, actually.
Exactly. There you go. Well, I hope you guys have a great weekend. I know how important it has been for everybody, and I just realized that I've referred to you as Noah, Erin. Yes. I can't believe I did that. I was looking right at you. So Erin is one of our interns here, and I just have worked with so many incredible people. I'm getting everybody mixed up. But thank you, Erin, so much for everything you do for our show, and for Alex and for Noah. We are heading into the weekend, everybody, and we hope you have a great weekend. I'm going to leave the studio here on Thurston Drive on City News, and I'm going to scoot across the city. And you're going to see me at 2 o'clock on daytime. I'm filling in for the one and only Derek Fage. Lock it in to City News.
You've been listening to the Sam Laprade Show.
Tune in again for local news and community views on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.